Good evening. Hailing frequencies are open. Welcome back to the Last Excelsior, our Clear Skies adventure here with the StreamPunks. We're going to kick things off with some announcements just to sort of mix it up a bit. And I'm going to go ahead and announce that we have announcements. All right. Who else has got an announcement before we jump into the game tonight?
Whoa, Eric, you can't just say that. That's
whoa. I should have. I just completely
You have to clear that kind of shit, Eric. You gotta,
Elisa, please.
I have one. I'm going to be at DreamHack in a couple of weeks playing a haunted hayride run by Brennan Mulligan and playing with some amazing folks. So if you're there or if you know someone who's going, then let them know. They're going to be running a bunch of games on that Sunday.
I know Elisa. Elisa's going. I'm going to tell Elisa later.
Yeah, tell Elisa later.
Yo, Elisa, did you hear that Elisa's playing with BLM? It's happening.
Yeah.
All
BLM.
right.
Oh my God, I never
Yeah.
made that connection. Wow. Wow. Good for him.
I always knew Elisa supported Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
Now, anyway.
Yeah.
Did you ever wonder? Wait.
This is in question. Anybody else have any other announcements before we jump in tonight?
I do. First, the website noirville.com is up. Please check it out. We've got some cool merch stuff. Also, I have added a number of new games on the Start Playing Games. I'll be doing Star Trek, Marvel Multiverse, and Dungeons and Dragons, I guess. So please stop on by, check it out, and be on the lookout on my YouTube channel. I'm going to be posting GM tips again, as well as some reviews for some things that I'm checking out soon, like the Beetlejuice movie. So that's it.
Awesome. All right. Anybody else have anything else? Yes, Caitlin.
So I'm gonna be at the Minnesota Web Fest. If anybody does the Web Fest circuits, next. Oh my God, it's not this coming weekend, but next weekend. I keep forgetting. That's so soon. But on Friday, I believe it's at 5 p.m. I'm gonna be doing like a panel talk performance thing with Jeff Stormer. We're going to be doing a what is actual play kind of thing. We're going to kind of talk through what it is for audiences who maybe don't know what it is and play some little like snippets of it because people, I guess, get pretty confused at the WebFest circuits about what is actual play. So if you're around, if you're in the Midwest, if you do web circuits, make sure to check it out. I believe it's listed on the website now, and it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Awesome. All right. Anybody else have anything that they'd like to announce before we jump in? Wait for it. Go ahead, Sam.
Yes, no episode of Morning People tomorrow. It was for the good flavor of busy. And likewise, the latest episode of May Contain Science will be going live tomorrow morning rather than today. Fortunately, I believe we managed to grab all of the aggressive space invaders, so only the nice ones are now infiltrating my channel. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, with that, I say we go ahead and jump back into where we left off. So let us go ahead and begin the next part of this episode of The Last Excelsior. When we last left off, the USS Pride had started uncovering some pretty unusual properties in the hull plating of the interior of their own ship. Chief Tech Lenatus had come aboard and was doing a look over of the vessel to find out exactly how he could help with regards to some of the parts that the USS Pride is in need of. She's operating about 90% functionality right now. Certainly enough to handle itself, and she is flying fine. But because she is an older vessel, like any kind of classic car, she needs a little bit more love. Lieutenant Commander Pavin has been complaining for some time now that the USS Pride simply was not supported when you all left Space Dock, and has been doing the best he can with the engineering crew to make sure that she continues to run smoothly. But of course, Commander Tavin took a bit of initiative and reached out to Starfleet to find out if there was anybody or anything they could use to give them an edge on helping keep the Pride maintenance. And instead, they sent a whole chief officer who was specializing in power distribution across starships of all types. While you guys were having that little look-see around the ship, you uncovered a hull panel inside Jeffrey's tube just outside of Deck 14 that was exhibiting strange qualities on a tricorder scan. Now, the first giveaway is that the panel itself was already warm, and you were able to scan to find out exactly what was taking place behind it. What you discovered was the panel itself seems to have traces of those gaps in matter, dark spots located in between the particles of the casing itself. Very similar to that strange stone-like object that you all discovered when you first warped into system. And then there's the matter of the strange ghostly encounter where the USS Pride engaged in battle that apparently didn't happen. What you've managed to uncover as a quick recap is that there was in fact a battle here that the USS Pride was involved in. In 2314, around that time period, under the command of Captain Joshua Niles, there was an engagement with the Burrell-class bird of prey. 2 crew members lost their lives, Lieutenant Susan Clausen and Lieutenant Commander Amanda Ferguson. That's only the information you managed to dig up just at this point. But the Pride has been to this system before, and apparently there was a fight here. Then there is also the fact that y'all are planning on sending out Griffin Wing to do a scan of the asteroid field. And if I remember correctly, Cadence, you had already launched and had headed out into the field itself and were running scans. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just started that. I performed the preliminary scans from what I recall.
And I believe you scanned the face of the Pride with a shot off the bow of from your phaser cannons, if I remember correctly. That happened.
Phaser scannons, let's call it.
Phaser scannons, yes. You scanned the Pride with phasers.
Exactly.
So
they connected to the relay.
Right.
Yes. And we're sending data back to Commander Hata.
Yeah, and if you remember correctly, the data showed that that the Pride arrived in system, but that no other ships were here. So let's go ahead and begin where we last left off. And right now, taking the role of tech is going to be myself, crawling out the back of the Jeffries tube with the tricorder in hand. Tech looks nervous. He looks like an engineer, somebody who's probably spent most of his life being able to explain everything he's ever put his hands on, to somebody who doesn't have an explanation. Well, this just seems to kind of fly in the face of science. So I sure am worried about this ship.
Should we bring science down here?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe yes. Or you could order everyone to escape pods.
Do you believe there's reason to order everyone to escape pods?
Well, there's evidence that maybe running for our lives could be a good thing, since this kind of flies in the face of all known physics. There's literally pockets of nothing holding together that paneling. We don't even know what's going on behind it right now.
Then I suggest perhaps we bring science.
Okie dokie. let's find out if you do have a chief science officer.
We do. And I will chirp to the bridge.
Okay. Not hearing a word you're saying.
Sorry. Keep turning it up. Hello. Okay. Tavine to Lieutenant Commander of Raleigh.
Yes. Here.
Lieutenant Commander, at the earliest convenience, we may need a hand up on deck 15.
There might be a black hole forming in the middle of the ship right now.
This feels dramatic to me, but the essence is there, yes.
You don't get a response. The bridge sees the Ivrali-shaped dust cloud as they're out of here.
Okay.
Like a Looney Tune.
Okay. A couple of quick cuts of you dashing down the corridor and politely shoving superior officers out of the way as you rush towards deck 14. In what could be, had it actually been recorded, near record time for sprinters across during the marathons that they do, jogging across the decks here on the USS Pride for their constitution checks. The chief science officer comes barreling through the door, slightly out of breath.
You made excellent timing.
I have a
Wow, that was
tricorder.
fast. You could have used a transporter, though.
Yeah, but then I have to wait for Zoe to get nervous and then to get over it, and then I could already be in the turbo lift. So I'm now out of the turbo lift here and ready to scan. Show me the black hole. Show it to me now.
Transferring the data to your tricorder now. And a few moments later, you start seeing the data flood in. Go ahead and make me a reason science check.
I would like to use data reconstruction on this.
Oh boy. Okay. Data reconstruction totally works here.
Well, let's find out. The dice will tell me if it works. The dice say it works. I don't know. I don't know what the difficulty was, but
The difficulty was 2.
okay. Yes, the dice say it works. Have a momentum, kids.
Okay, cool.
Nice. Down 1 from last session, back up to...
Oh, I thought we were going back to wiping.
Were we wiping between, like, sessions or wiping between
Yeah,
episodes?
With the sort of a game master's discretion, we're wiping between sessions.
Between sessions. Got
We're
it.
classic. Except
Cool.
me. I don't have to because I get
Fair
threat
enough.
at the top of every game.
All right, dropping us with 1.
Okay.
Thank you, science.
True. It's true, I do.
Okay.
Just saying.
Enjoy.
Take it up to hey, take it up with Modifius. They did this to you.
Why? I'm not objecting. You,
You've always objected against that. You are the cautious player of all time.
well, yes, because you apparently get to accumulate it. Why would I
It's
stack
true.
on top? Conversely, flood yourself. Get more than you can use.
On that
Sit
note,
on a dragon pile. Any of the above.
I'm going to. Damn it. Here's for the scene. There is a trait I'm giving you all now: mysterious paneling. All right. Studying this data, what you see is indeed trace amounts of these little gaps. It's not accurate to call it gaps in reality. There's no evidence to support one way or the other, but it does just not register on the sensors. Now, that's not too unusual. At the subatomic level, there's spaces between atoms. Sure. But these seem to be occupying those spaces, and there's simply nothing there. Nothing is registering on sensors. That's the surface scan that you get back from the data. How many successes did you get? Do you have any momentum?
Yes, I do.
Okay, cool. Oh, this reminds me, because Sam, this circles back to something that I was going to talk to you about, because you had a question about this. With regards to spending for obtain information, if there is no more information you could determine from spending information. As a game master, I have to tell you, you either don't know, you're not sure, and then immediately refund you any momentum you spent to ask that question.
Ah, lovely.
So,
Fantastic.
yeah.
Oh, I had a tricorder, didn't I?
You did, yes. That would actually lower the difficulty by 1. So you would
Yeah,
actually be able to.
We will have had 2, and I will get my science officer benefit. Good. Excellent.
All right.
May I ask Tech a question before I ask
Sure.
Eric one?
Mm-hmm. You could say you were asking Tech this question as you were reading the information.
Tech, I'm getting, in fact, the absence of stuff over here. Black hole, notoriously, the presence of a lot of stuff. Too much stuff. Definitely too much stuff for the ship. What's giving you black hole?
Well, they were nothing was there. So I thought maybe a black hole. But when I wasn't sure, I thought, let's call the science officer.
I believe our guest was maybe speaking in an embellished manner. I don't believe that we have an actual black hole aboard.
No, it's literally, I get it. It
is more
a
literal.
hole with the absence of stuff, thereby rendering darkness.
I believe so.
There's nothing coming through in the scanners, so there's nothing that should actually be holding the molecules together the way it is. At least not from a surface scan. So we called the science officer.
You did the right thing. Now I need you also to do the right thing.
I'm just gonna go familiarize myself with the blueprints and just get to know my exit routes. Excuse me. And Tech suddenly steps out of the room, takes a look at left and right, and goes, "Excuse me, which way is the escape pod?" Shh, the door closes.
I was just going to do character question. Did Avrali serve on the Pride before, or is this their first posting on the Pride?
First posting.
Cool.
Yes. Also open if other people have direct questions.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose first question is, what type of phenomenon is this consistent with? Is this wholly unknown such that I cannot make useful inference about it by relating it to any other known information? Or is this related to anything by scientific foundational scientific principle? Like electron holes do literally exist. It's just there are dynamics that are known around those.
Okay. The molecules around the gaps are presenting strong evidence that the molecules, there are indeed molecules in those dark spaces, but they're simply not being detected in any way, shape, or form. It is, in fact, kind of how we detect black holes. We don't spot them right away, but we can see stars and light around them behaving in such ways that it kind of tips us off that there is a singularity there. In this case, the way the binding is taking place of the molecular structure of this paneling indicates that it's almost like somebody just took a marker and removed them from being able to be spotted by anything. Then that's what's causing them to show up.
Okay. Then I should be able to make some degree of chemical inference by how the molecules I can't detect are interacting with the molecules I can detect. That tells you something about the electronegativity of the unseeable molecules in question, for instance. The paneling will not interact with fluorine the same way that it will with silver. So for my actual, I obtain some information, spend, what might I chemically infer about the molecules I can't see?
all that you can get is that the molecules, the molecules surrounding these little dark spots in the scan are actually I'm going to refund that because there is just no, your tricorder, the tricorder reading that Tech took is not giving that enough data.
What type of not enough data?
What you are getting is just, think of it like a snapshot of the surface scan itself. What you get from the tricorder scan is that Tech likely scanned it, detected it, tried to analyze it, couldn't, and then fled the Jeffries tube.
Okay, so I need scan over time.
Yeah,
that makes sense. I
Mhm.
need to see a reaction take place, or at least, interactions, and those are fourth dimensional in principle. Okay. Any reason I ought not simply take a more extended scan of mine own?
Are you asking me personally, GM?
Yes.
No, not at all. You're basically getting data from somebody else's copy. And now that you have that there is an anomaly, scanning for yourself might be the next course of action.
This was a very lovely preliminary data. Thank you for bringing this to my attention, Commander Tavine.
I expect you'd like to take your own readings.
Yes.
Follow me, and I will lead them to the panel.
They're just like practically stepping on the backs of your shoes.
Okay. The two of you crawl down this Jeffries tube, hands and knees, until you get to the paneling. You see the same thing that I described to the other two officers. This paneling looks vintage. It still has the old Starfleet chevron logo on it, a circle and the chevron itself with a star in the middle. And it has a fade to some of the readouts and indications of which panel, Jeffries 2 panel, this is. Your instinct is this is one of the probably well predates when the Pride has set out in any of the previous years. From what era, you're not entirely sure, but it looks old. Moving close to it too with the tricorder, as you lift it up, you can feel the heat on your knuckles as you're holding the tricorder up. It's not an uncomfortable heat. It's not even a dangerous, but there is a warmth emanating from the paneling itself.
Did I, as I came past, observe any gradual gradient or abrupt change in the age of paneling?
No, it looks a little like an amalgam. When you're crawling back here, you're starting to get the impression it's been a hot minute since somebody's been down here to change up some of the systems. This just looks like it might be the oldest piece in this Jeffries tube.
I don't want to keep you from whatever ship flying things you need to do, Commander, unless you want to partake.
Well, I do believe we are stagnant for the moment, and I would be called to the bridge should they need me. I do have a mild fascination with what could possibly be happening here, if you don't mind a shadow.
Join me. It's weird.
Take it away.
Okay. Make me a reason science check. The difficulty is 2, reduced down to 1.
Thank you. 4.
4 successes.
I rolled a 1 and a 3.
So 3 total for your momentum spends.
I'm
Is that
sorry?
correct? 3. I'm sorry. You said 4 down to
Yes.
3.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that would be 3 momentum. Because I used my science officer question last time, because I used a tricorder, we'll have both of the momentum from last round plus these 3 for a total of 5.
Okay.
It's like 2, but more so.
1 second. 239. Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, true.
If you say so.
Oh, okay. How much time does it take to do that? Oh, meaning it's not to come from. Okay. Can you just get it?
I've never heard any different.
See more verification yet. I guess it's up to me. I guess I can make the call that you did the thing. Would make sense. Okay. Well, to tricorder train. Okay. All right. In that case, initial scans as the data starts coming back to you on the tricorder, you begin to see what the challenge is going to be here. Because as the data begins to come back, the tricorder isn't giving you much more of a reading than you already got. You see a lot of the data that was coming in from tech. You see the analysis coming in from the molecular scan. But at this point, you realize you're probably going to need a mass spectrometer to analyze in exact detail what is going on at the atomic level with the questions that you're asking specifically. And a mass spectrometer is something you can simply spend momentum to get, but because it has an opportunity cost of 1. That's what I was looking up. I was trying to find out, can you just spend that momentum and go, it's a good thing I brought my science kit.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of...
they would make LC mass spec that small these days. Yeah. Wow. Love the 21st century for that.
So it's almost though the opportunity, funny enough, the opportunity spend basically it's going to eat one of your spins for obtain information, but it's also going to fulfill the exact same role for obtain information. Okay. It'll just mean that you see the tricorder reading and just not giving you enough, setting it down, flipping open your kit, if you choose to do that.
Yeah, that's certainly no problem. Do I get to obtain any information on what I have thus far, or rather, can I still ask questions that are part of the scan?
Yes. Yeah,
consistent with that. You do that. Cool. I just didn't want to do the spend and then be like, oh, no, your question's passed. They expired.
No, not at all. But what I will say is that the spend for the mass spectrometer, the gateway to add the opportunity cost on that is going to open the gateway to you asking more from the data that you would get from a tricorder. Yeah. But go ahead. Yeah. What your initial scan, the data comes back in. You get the initial readouts that you saw before. With an added piece of information, the metal seems to have been exposed to some kind of burst of energy. And you're able to draw that conclusion based on the gaps. They seem to follow a pattern that would indicate some kind of explosion, like somebody sprayed it from a single source. Which direction it came from or how it got there, you're not entirely sure. But it's though as the panel itself was nearly blown off, but it managed to keep itself in place. There's just the molecule scatter on the inside the paneling itself. It's almost like a starburst, like it came from a point of origin. Difficult to see at first, but when you're up this close doing your own personal scan, you can get a better view of exactly the entirety of it.
Okay. First, in my mass spectroscopy, did I take sample of the typical baryonic matter, the sensor-free matter, baryonic matter at the edge between the two? What did I actually analyze the material composition of?
So a mass spectrometer does all of the above. It basically takes a molecular, it uses transporter like microtransporter to basically take on a molecular level a small sample of the material and breaks it down.
Yes.
So that
so all
is going
three
to give you. It's going to give you back an incredible amount of detail. So with that, the gaps present, you definitely get that the conduits on the other side of the panel may have been the source. But what's curious is that despite the mass spectrometer's highly detailed ability to scan this, it still cannot identify what these black spots are. It's simply not showing up. Your instinct is, based off of what you're seeing, is that there just might not be enough of a sample size here. The explosive spot that you're looking at is not spattered across the entirety of this panel. It's actually at a micro level. Like there was a spark, almost like a blip. So you're actually looking at this scattering on the subatomic level where it looks quite large, but it's too small of a sample size. You need more data. And if you could find something where they were more densely packed together, the spectrometer might have a much easier idea of how to draw from its database to try to identify what it is it's looking at. But right now, it's behaving completely illogically. It scans and identifies that there is something there and no data comes back on it. It's almost like the computer's contradicting itself. It analyzes it, says there's something there, and then it comes back with nothing detected again and again. No matter detected.
Okay, that's fine. I'm not going to let you get the best of me. That's to my mass spectrometer, of course. Nothing personal. In terms of questions, the edges where normal matter interfaces with the spots, because there was this metal had been exposed to a burst of energy with gaps. So where there has been exposure, how is that on my mass spectroscopy chemically distinct from the part of the panel that hasn't been exposed, that can be sort of my control?
And that is where, and that's another obtain information spend?
That is my first obtain information spend for this.
Okay,
yes.
So
that's my, I think, tricorder obtain information spend.
That is where the frustrating contradiction begins. Nothing is behaving any differently or showing that there is anything present, even on the molecular level.
So how do I know that the metal's been exposed to a burst of energy? What indicates that?
You don't know for sure. It's a theory. It looks like something popped. There's a starburst, like it came from a point of origin and spread out. It's matching
so
the
same morphology of
correct.
The distribution.
It's matching the obtained information is essentially it's simulating your science officer's ability to take leaps of logic to be like, oh wait, forensically looking at this, I can see that this actually had a point of origin, and it originated somewhere from outside this panel and perhaps got on it. What you're guessing is a burst of energy of some kind. If you're being given that as an obtained information, by the way, it's because yes. I can only answer yes or no. So if I'm giving you that as a clue, it's another way of saying it's not possible. Your science officer is jumping to the conclusion because that is correct.
Oh, the answer was morphology.
Yeah.
That works. As opposed to, I knew it was exposed to a burst of energy because it looked different. Right. Like, you set something on fire. I look at the thing.
Right.
It has been different because it's burned versus.
Right,
okay,
right.
Cool.
Yeah.
So first one that I have to spend for, because the last one I got free for being science. What is the signature? Is there electromagnetic or other radiation associated with the heat that's coming off of this? Because that can be associated with chemical reactions. It can be, radiation that it is giving off that bespeaks the potential for particle decay. Whence heat?
The heat, go ahead and refund that point of momentum. The heat is simply from an aging plasma power conduit on the other side of the paneling. Curiously, though, scanning through the paneling, you get a smattering of sensor distortion.
Sensor distortion in what way?
Scanning through the paneling with the tricorder to determine what's on the other side, you learn a couple of pieces of information that aren't significant to what you were scanning to begin with that I can give you for free. For example, this paneling has probably been here since the Pride launched 83 years ago. The second piece of information, though, is that when you were running a scan to see exactly where this temperature, this heat is coming from on the other side of the paneling, what you get is it's just like scanning with anything else, except for when you scan over that little bitty microscopic molecular burst, there is a smattering of sensor distortion. And because it is on the microscopic level, it gives the appearance on the other side of the panel that there is a hole. There's nothing there. Trying to scan through it in that small burst, you just notice it just looks like a hole in the sensor scan.
Okay, so it's all waste heat is foundationally the answer. Yes? The heat that I
the source of the heat is waste heat. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
It's from old material, basically being used on an updated plasma conduit. This is probably definitely an area of which tech does need to work and to do some maintenance on the Pride.
That's for an engineering team to say. I'm indifferent, except insofar as the function of sensors is impaired. At which point I care very, 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 very much.
Whatever this stuff is, it's not only preventing you from learning what it is, but it's preventing you from scanning through it. You cannot see on the other side of it when you scan around there. That's what the sensor distortion is.
Commander Tavine, could you hold this for a moment?
I hold up my hand.
I'm going to perform some extreme science.
Y'all know why Sam didn't play a science officer, right? It's because it would have been easy mode.
No, absolutely not. Not even a little.
Easy mode.
No, truly not. From the bottom of my heart, not. Do I... No, we're just going to do this the normal way. I'm going to spit on it. I want to see how it reacts with the addition of other matter and what happens at the point of contact.
Okay.
Because the moisture is going to fly, and that is going to be a known, established molecular distribution. And then I get to see when the sensor distortion initiates and how it affects known novel matter being introduced versus the panel where it has already been in situ.
So my question to you is, are you removing the paneling or are you keeping it in place where it is?
My understanding was that the dark matter was, yeah, let's call it dark matter right now. It's not responding to sensors appropriately.
Sure.
Although I think we have a whole, I'll look for the chemistry of dark matter later. I have that tab open already. That it was embedded in the panel as well, not purely behind.
Well, yeah, it's been integrated into the molecular structure of the panel, so it's visible to you in a scan, invisible, visible. Yeah.
Yeah. So like,
I was
if
just
we
trying
have
to get a
panel
sense.
and like right here, there's like dark matter splotch. I spit. Weird. Weird. How?
Test one, door still closed. Yeah, test one is from this side of the panel.
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
you got to do that Hawk 2 of science.
It would be so much better if I had a pipette and purified water, but that's one, going to be opportunity cost, and two, time I don't have when there's science at stake.
It is not, speaking of science, it is not an exact science trying to spit on something the size of a molecular dot on a metal paneling. So it's taking a couple of tries. But you eventually, according to the tricorder scan, do manage to hit the area of where this scan was taking place. You're spinning for obtain information on this?
Yes.
I take it. There is a sensor distortion as you scan it. Your saliva does not come back with a full read of information. The tricorder and even the mass spectrometer are able to detect that there is a biological matter on the surface of this paneling. And around where you've spit, you're getting a full readout of everything, giving you a complete makeup of your saliva on the genetic level, just all the way down. The sensors that the readings over the spot where you spit, you just do notice that there is a couple of areas in which there's just no data coming back. It's just registering that it is literally just kind of not, it's simply just not registering.
What I'm looking for here is the change as it begins to interact, because once it's there, it's going to behave exactly like the metal panel. How far were we before it got weird? In what way did it start getting weird? That kind of thing.
Okay. You cannot help yourself. Despite all of your self-control, you find yourself, Avrali, leaning in with widening eyes as the data starts to come back. Because something with a mass spectrometer, you're getting a full readout. It is literally gauging everything it possibly can at a hypersensitive molecular level. And so you are literally thumbing through pages of data as it's coming back, as it's running a scan on every single spectrum level that it can. And what gives you pause is that cellular degradation, cellular degeneration, which is natural in all things, starts to become a variant in the area where you see the saliva has, where you've spit. But no exact data comes back. But you see specifically the cellular degeneration no longer matches.
Is that associated with protein degradation? Because the saliva is going to have water, protein, and maybe a few sloughed off cells, which is clearly what I'm observing. Like, the mucosal cells, that kind of thing, which has to be the degradation. Is the protein denaturing the way, like, you cook food, the protein denatures?
Sure.
Or are you talking about some telomeres? Are we looking at like replicative senescence being induced, degradation in that matter, or
it's more accurate to say that it resembles something very similar to how matter goes into a stasis when transporters are being used, where it's almost like at the molecular level, it kind of freezes.
So
before it's reinstated.
Decelerated rather than accelerated. Interesting. Any changes in molecular movement or any, like, it's almost as if things are being slowed moving in. Is that exclusively at the cellular level? Or is it smaller than that as well?
We're getting to the point where I have to check into how much momentum is being spent at this point.
So
each yes or no question or each explanation I give is technically an obtain information spend. So
cool.
if you've still got it, I can still answer this. Yeah.
So I have thus far asked 4 questions,
right. Okay.
For which you have not refunded momentum. We started at 5 from the top of the roll. There was 1 cost for the opportunity cost for the mass spectroscopy, 1 for the tricorder, and 3 questions, leaving 1 remaining.
Yep. Okay.
At least by my count. If you're holding otherwise, happy to honor it.
No, that sounds right to me. So then what? I'm sorry. State this one again. What specifically are you trying to figure out with this question? What data are you trying to get?
If this is looking like the cellular stasis, is that reflected in the molecular and subatomic movement? Like, does this smell like time stuff? Or otherwise behavior associated?
Get refunded on that. You don't know. Not enough data comes back, even on the spectrometer level. It's not giving you enough information. It's almost like the spectrometer is not operating at the efficiency level it is supposed to. It just
Again,
doesn't.
I'm sort of looking at the before it goes into the nothing, like when it's still maybe semi-distorted or at the border of the initiation of the distortion behavior.
Oh, I see. You're looking for the spectrum of change from where it goes from point A to point B, and that
Which
gradient.
Is exactly why I had to introduce something new to it.
Yeah, it does not return any information. It literally defies what you were expecting and does not feed back any information. You're not seeing any kind of change. It's defying what this device is built to do, and it's not returning the data that you're looking for. It simply registers and then doesn't. And you cannot find a point in the data where there is any kind of gradient. It's like a switch goes off. And the information that's being returned isn't giving you any kind of accurate readout as to when the threshold of when that happened was. Was it before it impacted on the surface? Was it when it impacted on the surface?
So where did I detect the cellular behavior? So I understand where that happened in this, and I understand why I can't hit the molecular submolecular.
Because you spit on a spot, and the spit around the spot is behaving like it normally does. The information that's being fed back, because it is on a micro scale. Remember how I told you that not all the data is coming back through when you were scanning through the panel? In the similar fashion, you're watching what looks like, because you can see the thing contrasted against the dark, the energy itself. You can see what's happening, but you can only observe it. Getting the data back as it is reading through, all you can note is that the cellular change is almost in a stasis-like form as it moves over the surface before the data comes back in as it runs down. So you're making
over the surface? I'm sorry.
On the surface of the paneling.
Okay.
As the spit is dripping down. As it is passing over those spots where it is difficult to get any kind of sensor data, you are observing that on a molecular level, it almost seems to go into a stasis. Now, that could be an anomaly of data not getting back to you and it just kind of glitching and freezing like my camera often does. Or it could be an observable piece of information that the sensors aren't detecting, but that you can see through the visual of the spectrometer's vision. But no data itself is actually being fed back through the sensors. So it's the same as you being able to see that thing that was outside, but no sensor data was coming back on it. It was kind of contradicting what something could do.
I confess, Sam is not following.
I don't know where I lost you, so I couldn't tell you how to. I don't know how to clarify it. Which part?
Where I can see change and where I lose the ability to measure things.
Okay, so what you were able to get from this after running all this gamut of information by looking at the surrounding universe and trying to compare to what is happening on the surface of this thing, you were getting almost none of the data that you're looking for. All you can observe is that when biological matter comes into contact with it, it starts to behave differently than the surrounding space. But no concrete data is being fed back through the sensors to tell you exactly what is happening. You're able to observe that it looks like it almost goes into a state of stasis, like it does when a transporter beam is being initiated and matter kind of freezes for that moment. And it stops its processes and then reconstitutes. It almost resembles matter in that state. But as it runs past it, the information begins to come back through and it's just fine. In other words, there is some kind of interference and distortion effect taking place. Anything that comes into contact with it is not returning clear data to you. Another way of putting this is there's simply, as stated before, there's simply not big enough a sample size to get any kind of concrete evidence as to what it is you're looking at here. Just that it is behaving, this is how it is behaving, and that it is able to dodge sensor readouts. In other words, you don't know what the hell this is. Raleigh, you're coming up against something that is simply not answering to your deductive reasoning when it comes to science. It seems to be contradicting how it is you can observe the universe and use those connections to start making inferences, to jump to possibilities and test those hypotheses. This one is just giving you contradictory information, and it seems to be feeding back partial data when it's feeding back anything at all.
Do you have any insight on this data, Commander Tavine?
Science is not my forte. I'm simply fascinated by the seeming lack of information available to us. My closest thoughts would be something time-related or subspace-related. How it got here, I don't know. I would perhaps bring on a larger science team, maybe find out what's behind the panel.
Oh no, I get it. No, bring more scientists. I'm sure they'll figure out something. I did. You betrayed me. You made me look bad in front of the commander, and now she doesn't trust me.
I
You're on the outs.
apologize.
I hope you believe that. I excuse me, just a moment.
Of course.
You needed to impress her, and you failed. You're gonna go right back with your brother, the other personal tricorder, until you behave. I need to go to engineering. If you will pardon me, I need to take apart and analyze a tricorder.
Lieutenant Commander, I assure you I am thoroughly impressed.
What are you talking about? I have no idea. What? Huh?
I did not mean to infer that you did not do a well enough job. I'm more concerned about what may be on the other side of the panel, and that maybe more people should be witness in case something were to go incorrectly.
So in case everything explodes, we want as many people as possible here. Got it, Commander.
I meant more to implement safety precautions, but if you choose to think of it that way, that is your prerogative, I suppose.
Well, I guess I should bring this to the command team and possibly punish a personal tricorder. It's not possibly. I know what you did. You know what you did. I'll see you on the bridge.
See you on the bridge.
All right. You back out of the Jeffries tube?
Mm-hmm.
And what are you doing, Tavine?
I think she just sits and stares at it for a couple minutes, just like this is, and then she can't see anything obviously with just her eyes, but it's like, this is, what are you doing here? What is supposed to be in this area of the ship, behind this paneling?
It's a plasma power conduit.
Okay.
It's an area where plasma power is being redistributed. It's specifically a conduit area, so it's a redistribution port.
Okay.
Is all that's back there.
My last is there any indication that, I mean, I guess these panels are made to be removed and replaced, but is there any indication of something being removed and replaced or augmented in a way outside of the original specs of this ship?
All over this ship is evidence of things being removed and replaced.
That's why I know that's been updated, but this place specifically, it's old. It hasn't been touched in a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
So compared to the panels around it, was this augmented in a way that doesn't match?
Are you scanning?
Sure.
Okay. You pull out your tricorder, run another scan. Go ahead and make a roll. This one is difficulty 0. That's an easy scan.
Cool. And I'm hoping to use my Excelsior expert trait here as just
You
like
can totally
being familiar
do that,
with this type of
Mhm.
shit. Okay.
You can totally do that.
Okay. And sorry, what am I rolling on? Would this be like
Pitch it.
reason engineering?
Sure. Yeah, you're
feels-
basically using your logic and in what you know about engineering
Yeah.
to try to find out if anything
Yeah.
has changed about this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, one of those is nothing, but the other one was a 9, so that is 1 success, which succeeds and means that
Mm-hmm.
I generate 1 momentum automatically.
Yep.
So if it was a 0, then we add 2, unless I spend 1 for information.
It was 0, yeah.
Okay.
The paneling is one, judging from the initial scan, this paneling was one of the original panels to the early Jeffries tubes that was installed here some 83 years ago. The panel around it has all been enhanced or updated at some point during the refit, but
just this one?
no, you're actually detecting lots of parts behind it that have also been around since the original launch of the Pride. Again, you know that this Jeffries tube has not been accessed in almost decades now.
Mhm.
It has not been maintained at all.
Yes.
But you're
correct.
detecting the mild temperature of the paneling itself now has spit dripping off of it. And you also detect that, everything around it looks like has been futzed with quite often. Looks like
Yes,
it was
correct.
refit. So yeah.
Cool.
Nothing
Can
augmented.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Can I call for like how I guess I don't know how many areas are set up for it, but could I force field this area of the Jeffries tube off until we can get more people to look at it? Like, is there like just like for like a 10-foot segment around this panel? Like, could we put like?
Are you doing that because you're just trying to create a zone of safety around the panel itself?
Yeah.
Well, you
So
could.
nobody messes with it. Like that's just kind of.
You could remove the paneling and simply take it to a quarantine zone, or you could leave it here in front of a plasma conduit and force field around it. But those would be your 2 options if you wanted to try to keep people from getting their hands on it or getting near it.
Tavine hasn't been given any directive to remove it, so I think she would just put the 2 nearest Jeffries tube force fields around it.
Just to be perfectly clear, just so I make sure that I'm mapping this out to you, the paneling itself is essentially like the cover. It's on top of the thing. So just to be totally clear, removing the paneling is literally just like raising the hood of your car, except you'd be removing the hood. So there's nothing, it's not attached to any vital systems. It's just laying over. Yeah. Okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure.
No, all good. She just
you weren't authorized, and as an engineer and as a flag, as a senior officer on the ship, you are authorized to pull any panels you want.
Not unauthorized, but she hasn't been given the directive, and she doesn't really know what's wrong with this. And like there were weird scans coming from. She's just being cautious.
Totally, yeah. You don't know what the hell this is.
Exactly. So she wasn't told to pick it up. She hasn't been told that it's safe to pick it up.
Yeah, you can. It's easy. The Jeffries tube. It's not going to be exact, but you can absolutely call the computer to raise a force field around this section of the Jeffries tube,
segments,
and just give your clearance code, and the computer will do it.
All right. Yeah, that's what she does.
Okay, so you step back, you move back out, and call up the computer to erect a level 1 force field around this particular area, just in case. And on the bridge, Hata, Captain, you see the computer indicates that an emergency force field has been erected in deck 14, Jeffries tube 6. You
would at the same time get a chirp from Tavine,
and then you hear the comms coming through. Yeah. About the same time, I guess, that Avrali returns to the bridge. If Avrali's headed to the bridge, I wasn't sure. So yeah.
Yes, they were threatening their personal tricorder, but truthfully, that will have to happen later.
Holding a phaser to the tricorder. You better give me your info.
It's going to be much more invasive than that. Thing.
This is Captain Jiren.
Captain Jiren, I've just erected a safety force field around the anomalous area until those with greater expertise can come and ensure the safety.
Okay. Sit rep.
Currently, the information we've gleaned is next to nothing understandable. When Lieutenant Commander of Raleigh returns to the bridge, they may be able to explain in better terms, but it seems there is a piece of our paneling that displays no information.
Repeat.
There's nothing, Captain. It's a dead zone.
And our scans are showing what
Nothing.
exactly? Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. It actually reminds me a bit of the object that we first scanned before all of the supposed potential, maybe not combat, maybe memory combat happened. The nothing on the scans, but at a much smaller scale.
I see. Visually, are we able to see any anomalies in this area?
No, Captain. It's much too small. It needs to be scanned and looked at a subatomic level or molecular level. Visually, there's nothing. It's just old paneling that hasn't been maintained.
Okay. On my way.
Would you like me to wait here, Captain, or?
If you feel. We're gonna have some fun. I have an idea.
Okay.
Commander Ben, did you need something?
Yes, I wanted to say after you do your own personal investigation there, I would like to inspect that area because it sounds like something's happening behind the hull plating, and that's my domain as well.
I would love to join you if I might.
Oh, should we go now?
Could I interject here as a GM just real quick, because I don't want this to become a door situation in D&D.
Okay.
I want you guys to do everything you want to do here, and especially because you can yes and some pretty interesting things, but I have given all of the data that is on that paneling as it is right now.
I
If you
do
want to
have
try something
questions
new
about the
you'll-
conduits and what's behind the panel.
okay, cool. Yeah, that could be something. Sure. I just want to make sure that y'all don't kind of rabbit hole on this, because Sam did a thorough job scanning for that until they hit that wall. So, but yeah, I will follow wherever you go.
Okay.
But yeah, if y'all want to head down there and try out some stuff and run some experiments, I will follow you.
All right. And Cotopin, I'd like to stop by my quarters really quickly to grab something,
Okay.
if I might.
Sure. Yeah.
One of the things that I've noticed with this particular anomaly, especially with the information gathered from my experiment with Commander Cadence, is that it seems to be the failure is in our technology. Everything that we see visually is not being represented in our scans. So, come with me. If you're willing, he's going to start to head towards his quarters.
Okay. When you leave the bridge, Lieutenant Shirali takes the con, now being the highest ranking officer on the bridge. The Andorian, she moves over and slides into the chair. Oh, wait. No, technically that would actually be you. Wouldn't it be, Avrali? No, it would. Yeah, you're both the same rank.
No, Lieutenant.
Yeah.
Sorry, point of clarification. There's both a Chirali and an Avrali on the bridge.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Shira. Yeah,
Okay.
Bonnie
Right.
kind of course corrected me a little bit on the name. We're just calling her Shirali.
Oh, Shirali, not Shirila.
Shira. No, because originally she spelled it Shirali, I think is the way it's supposed to be pronounced.
It's spelled
Shirali.
Ralal is how
Yeah.
it's spelled, but we've been calling it Shirila.
Shirali.
Right, because
Okay.
the final L is silent.
Right. Okay. I shall make adjustments. It's so funny.
Oh, yeah, no, Shirila well outranks me, doesn't she? Like,
She
she's
immediately
actually a
regretted
lieutenant
that name.
commander, isn't she?
It's chief of security would probably be the person that would take it.
I mean,
But
also,
it's
I'm just getting up.
It's really who the captain says who has the con.
I'll give it to tactical.
Okay.
But
Easy enough.
I mean,
Lieutenant
because I
Zarya.
wasn't necessarily up there yet, so I do like the idea that as command team leaves, Avrali gets to arrive to not the command team, not anyone.
They shuffle past you as you're stepping off the turbo lift. Both the captain and the XO step past you onto the turbo lift.
If I may, when we bump into Avrali, Jaren would. I know that you just came from the anomaly, but would you mind joining us as well?
Oh,
Thank you.
no?
It's gonna just keep walking towards its corners.
You pivot and step back into the turbo lift.
Before the scene ends,
Mhm.
I think Captain might get a chirp from Tavine telling you that she thinks she might have exhausted her usefulness at this point. I might swap for the next scene. I might swap to my engineering character because instead of my Helms officer for the engineering stuff. So I think, but when the scene ends, I think Tavine is gonna head back to the bridge because I'm out. I don't have any science.
That's fair. Totally fair. Okay, cool. So what are you getting at your quarters?
So I am going to go to my quarters. And I would like to spend one momentum to grab equipment that I need. And the equipment that I need would be a science kit, an analog science kit. We're talking old school microscope, all that good stuff. We're not relying on anything with circuitry, anything with a computer, none of that. We're doing good old-fashioned knee in the dirt science. Because if we can't observe because the scanner isn't telling us, and the most effective tool we have is our eyes, then we're just going to use that. And there are some universal truths or scientific truths that there has to be answers for it. So unless we're encountering something that what's his name, Antoine Lavoisier isn't aware of, which would be major news to Starfleet, we'll also have somebody doing research on if the laws of conservation have ever been nullified, which would be a major deal in Starfleet. And with our observations, we'll send that into Starfleet as well. So essentially, I'm doing research, observation, all manually in analog.
Okay.
Captain.
Yes.
I see you have scientific equipment.
My mother used to tell me that there are some things that a computer will never be able to do for you. A computer will never be able to smile for you. A computer will never be able to punch for you. And a computer will never be able to think for you. It will be able to assist you and such. But isn't it more fun to do it yourself? So.
Punch people?
Yes, that too. So I'm just gonna head down to
the boxer acknowledging. Moments later, you find yourselves down on deck 14. The lot of you. You see the opened Jeffrey's tube, and there is a glowing force field that has currently been erected around the paneling area. Also waiting for you down here, sent up here by Lieutenant Commander Pavan, who has heard of what has been going on by a very terrified Bolian that is now bothering him in engineering. You also see Baya. Ensign Baya is here.
She's like leaning against the deck plate, and you arms crossed, and is kind of kicking her feet at a piece of dirt or something, on the carpet, and then sees the command team show up and is like, oh, Captain, hi, hello.
Yes, hi. I need you to do me a favor. Well, I really have to stop calling it that. I need you to research the laws of conservation and any times Starfleet may have encountered the destruction of mass or the creation of it.
Okay, and then she's gonna find pull up I don't know if it would be a pad or a console on the ship or something. It'll be it's repeating it over and over again so to remember what the captain said.
I mean, good news, everyone. If we discover a way in which mass can be created, the replicators will get a little less gross. And well, actually, Commander Ben, would you like to take the lead here?
Muted.
I imagine we can do a simultaneous experiment. I just want to take a look at what's going on with the power supply in this area.
All right.
Now, keep in mind, keep in mind, it is a Jeffries tube on an Excelsior class starship. You're going to fit 2 people in here max.
That's perfect because Raleigh was about to say, Captain, can I please be excused?
Of course. And if you could pull any research on anything related to this sort of anomaly, that would be useful as well.
Okay.
Has Raleigh already sent? Have you sent us any of your research?
Research I haven't conducted yet, but if you want the raw data, all
Well,
yours. I think everyone should look at it.
Your
Personally, I
scans,
think everyone should look at all my raw data.
your
You know, it's
scans
just on the ship server. Anyone can look at it at any time. I keep trying to get people to. That doesn't matter right now. That isn't relevant. Did you want?
Can you send me your scans? Did you?
Yeah,
I'm imagining you
it was a
did
misbehaved tricorder, though.
Hmm.
Also, could I go on a field trip?
Where would you like
Command.
to go?
I mean, I guess maybe someone else can go get it for me. But there's not a lot of the weird there. Commander Tavine suggested there might be more of the weird in space. I want more of the weird. I need more of the weird.
All right. But one thing, Lieutenant,
Yes?
and you mind joining me over here really quickly? I'm just gonna kind of step away from the others.
Okay.
Is this about the tricorder? I'm gonna talk to him.
No. You've done a fantastic job. You and your tricorder both.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever you think would not have been important, I assure you that it is. So if there's something that you need to say that you feel uncomfortable or nervous to say, there's no need for that.
Did you have something in mind, Captain?
No, I just heard you delete a sentence. I thought that maybe you might have been nervous to say it in front of the rest of the crew.
Sam,
It's not.
When? Just
You're like, I've been trying to get people to. It's not important. That's what he picked up on.
Thank you. Oh no, I just people should look at my raw data sometime. It's cool.
I'll make a note to do that.
Or my process data. I'll show you that too. If you want. And they kind of kick their foot, like scuff the floor a little bit about it.
I'll have the computer read it to me during my exercise. Be sure to let Commander Cadence know that you're intending to head out, and I would feel much more comfortable if you had an escort. So,
Yeah, maybe they can take me on a field trip. And they 180 and be gone. Have fun with your optical
All right.
investigations.
just like after a while away.
And yes. Okay. What would you like to do?
So I am going to essentially attack this thing. Not physically attack, but try and observe this thing with analog equipment to see if that might provide results that scanning did not.
Your first pass, dropping the force field and moving over to it, your first pass at looking at this thing under a high-powered molecular microscope is you see the small traces that, with your microscope, it almost looks like, as powerful as it can get, it looks like you're looking at like little specks of black pepper that have been dropped on the surface of this metal grating, this panel. Nothing seems to interact. You don't see, again, it's a very, very small field. So while as the spectrometer is picking up a few thousand particles of these little black spots, through your microscope, you see the hint of a few of these black specks in a surface area that's a little bit larger than the head of a needle.
Okay. I'm gonna step back and look to Commander Ben. This is your domain, and I've taken a peek, and I can tell you with full confidence, I have absolutely no idea what I'm looking at.
Very well, Captain. She's gonna do a scan. So I heard mention of, and also Commander Ben has looked at the data while that conversation was happening. So she saw that there was, what was it? There was a warm plasma conduit that was casting heat onto the panel. And there was also some mention of like a splatter, like a invisible energy splatter.
So on a microscopic level, on a molecular level, that tip of the needle, that surface area of which these little things have been detected, through the highest power magnification, it looks like they are in a starburst pattern. Like they popped, something popped it on there or sprayed it on there, but it looked like it had a point of origin. The way it's spread out.
You mean the actual like missing gaps of atoms and molecules are in that spray pattern? Okay.
The actual spots, almost like a snowflake burst pattern on the surface.
Okay.
Like it's spread outward.
Okay. So Commander Ben is gonna do a scan, and
I'd like to assist you if I could.
Oh, great. Okay.
Because the panel's been scanned 4 times now, there's really not a lot of data that's going to come back that's any different.
So all the conduits are fine, like all of the
you're scanning the plasma conduit specifically?
Yeah.
So the plasma conduit has been scanned. What are you looking for specifically?
I want to scan. I'm just trying to think of the area around. So if this is the panel in the middle, I want to scan like this much around it, to kind of cover as wide an area as possible.
Are you just looking for any anomalies or anything that stands out?
Yes, and Commander Ben has sort of a theory about just like atoms and phasing. So anything that looks like that.
The paneling around it and the surface around it are seemingly, there's nothing that stands out or usually anomalous about it. The only thing you're getting back with the scans is that this particular plasma conduit needs maintenance. It looks like it has been kind of operating at minimal efficiency for some time now because it hasn't been updated or maintenance in a while. There's some original parts from the launch of the Pride still present inside this paneling. But the plasma is flowing through here normally right now. It's just not very efficient. It is worth noting that plasma conduits not being regularly updated can eventually become quite dangerous.
I would like to spend a determination, please.
Sure. What are you going to spend the determination for?
To create a trait.
Okay. What would you like to do?
Actually, I have 2 determination. Thank you, being a Bajoran. The first one I'm going to use to remove the trait Mysterious Panel.
Okay.
The second trait I'm going to use for the second determination I'm going to spend, because I'm doing 2, is Revelation.
Okay.
So with this, I'm hoping Commander Ben and Ivrali are able to essentially discover the cause of what this is.
That's tricky because Ivrali's not here, so we would.
If I recall,
the data maybe from the data. Like something in the data and Commander Ben and the inspiration you're giving us for this revelation conjures up a cause.
Well, Ivrali is going out to get more of a sample. So with the bigger sample, that should be able to confirm whatever your theory is.
Okay, I see how you're constructing this now.
We're able to then solve this issue.
Okay. That's awesome, and that will function. Correct. Yes, you can do that. So then you're burning. Is that
2 determination?
Oh, because you get 2 determination because you're Bajoran. Is that correct?
In the last fight, I used my orb experience, which doubles up determination, and then I used my Bajoran species ability that says whenever the GM uses three or more threat at once, I get I get one determination, and because of orb experience, that one becomes 2. So I had one to start. Then I had an additional 2. Then I spent it for the protection of the ship last episode, and now I have 2 left over that I'm spending right
that's
now.
really powerful. Yeah, it's normally you only get unless you reacquire it, you only get 1 determination per adventure. So that is amazing. Okay.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Orb experience. If you spend determination, you may gain 2 benefits listed. And if you would gain determination, you gain 2 points instead of 1.
Amazing. Okay. All right. So then you're sitting here pondering this, and Commander Ben is looking at the paneling and scanning around it. Cut to Avrali I'm guessing stepping into Shuttle Bay 1, the main shuttle bay, because you're planning on going on a field trip. Is that correct? What exactly?
Yeah, I'm going to the transporter room.
Oh, okay. Reporting to the transporter room. Stepping inside, you see one of the ensigns. Lieutenant?
I think I get to take a field trip. Away mission. They're called away missions, Avrali. I just need to check with my destination first. Just a moment. Lieutenant Avrali to Commander Cadence.
This is Commander Cadence.
There is a pause, and then on the other side of the line, you hear, okay.
Hi. I don't think we've really talked much. I'm Lieutenant Avrali. I'm the Deputy Chief Science Officer, and I need some data. My understanding is that you're currently out in space where the data is.
Well, technically, Lieutenant, we're all out in space where data is. But yes.
You're closer to the data.
So you want me to
accept a passenger and get some data?
There's a momentary pause, and you hear, Lieutenant, do me a favor. I want you to dig up some data for me.
Okay.
Open your tricorder and call up the specs of a peregrine fighter. And then I want you to relay to me the manifest of how many passengers a peregrine fighter can take.
Well, it looks like usually you have a capacity of 1, but it can sometimes get expanded to 2.
Oh, you're right. Tell you what, go down to main shuttle bay, stick Santos in a spacesuit, give him a wrench, and tell him to fly out and meet me, and we'll build you some space.
So is that a no?
There's a pause again, and you hear, Lieutenant, where would I put you? I'm not going to beam you onto my lap. I'm in the middle of flying this thing.
I could fit somewhere.
Stand by. Cadence gets on the comms. All right, Griffin Wing, we got a chickadee that wants to beam over from Big Bird. So, anybody have space? Griffin Wing is quiet at the moment. A little bit of static comes back. Then someone finally replies and says, checking right now, Commander. 1 sec, I might. Then a Tellarite's voice comes back and says, well, they could fit into our cargo compartment. How big are they? Then you hear somebody else reply, there is no Starfleet regulation that is going to let you beam a lieutenant from the bridge and into your cargo bay. They would need to be in an EV suit for that. But they'd be closer to the data.
Does that help?
What'd you say?
I'm not on the bridge. Does that help?
You get the sense that Cadence doesn't know their comms are still on. but you hear them say, starting to like this kid. Moments later, all right, tell you what, Lieutenant, if you're willing
Yes,
to
Commander?
if you're willing to pack up into an EV suit and maybe not give specifics of this when this is over, then I'm willing to comply. And as Cadence says that, you see the ensign at the transporter pad shift a little uncomfortably at this.
I'm certainly willing to do that, Commander. Just locking eyes with the ensign. Like,
do me a
not
favor, make a presence command check.
That's a funny joke.
I know, as Raleigh tries to be intimidating of all people on board this ship.
Oh. What's the difficulty?
That's 1.
Okay. It is there is genuinely no lower macro
Excellent.
on a Raleigh's shit
Excellent.
sheet. I hate to surprise you.
Mm-hmm.
Nah.
The ensign goes, I feel not great about this, Lieutenant.
Acknowledged.
You got your suit on? You hear Cadence on the other side say, you got your suit on yet?
Where are the suits?
There's some here in the transporter pad. EV suits are in emergency lockers right here in the transporter pad if you want to access them.
That's exactly what I hoped.
Okay.
They're silent for a moment, like they don't want to say yes until they're dressed.
Right.
Cadence here's like scuffle.
All right. Don't hurt
just
yourself.
Fully.
All right. As soon as you get up into the suit, the EV suit, you hear Cadence on the other side of the comms go, all right, ensign, if you could please beam some precious cargo over to Griffin 3. We'd appreciate it. Copy, Commander. Okay. The ensign nods and says, ensign starts typing away on the LCARs and says, go ahead and take position on the transporter pad. You move over to the transporter pad. The ensign looks up at you and says, got a lock on the space. It's going to be kind of tight. You're not going to be able to move much.
Okay.
And I'm going to roll.
Mm-hmm.
The good news is because of the trait that's been established, no matter what happens, the data is coming back to the Pride.
Good. Yeah.
Amazing.
Into the matter and I disintegrate. Do it.
With that, the ensign says, energizing. And the ensign looks up at you as this curtain of blue energy immediately envelops you as you hear the transporter's chimes begin to tingle. A few seconds later, you see that blue curtain of energy envelop you completely. And after a few moments, it begins to spread away from your vision. As it does, you begin to feel the weightlessness of space. And as you begin to materialize, you find yourself floating about 20 meters just underneath the belly of a peregrine fighter that is in station keeping right now. You are in space. Having missed the mark by a terrible roll on behalf of the ensign, who was a bit nervous, you beam into space. You're looking at the majesty of this asteroid field from the other side of the glass of your EV suit, and you find yourself about what looks like maybe a kilometer away from what would appear to be a subspace relay station. It looks like it's been battered by asteroids, but it is active and it is currently in a small spin. You can see the other peregrine fighters that are currently in station keeping, except for one that looks like it's flying in a circle around it for tactical reasons. You must imagine it's not important right now. However, though you missed the mark, you are in fact much closer to the data. You are many a kilometer away from the Pride, certainly in the direction where you know that big rock thing probably flew, and a subspace relay station to which Cadence has linked up to. I mean, why waste this opportunity? You just without missing a beat, flip out your tricorder and start typing away. You start getting the data. We will be back in about 10 minutes, y'all. And we'll see.
One sec,
Yes?
Eric.
Yeah, can I add?
There was a request.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's a request? What's up?
Yes, I'm sorry. I have to go after this. Sorry, Eric, to just tell you now. But
What's up? Mhm.
I wanted to just set up what Hata Ben is doing during this.
Okay.
Commander Ben is definitely looking through the data and Ivrali's data. And also, once everyone kind of clears from this part of engineering, she's
Mhm.
going to say, Ops and engineering, please meet me in the main engineering room. And once they get there, she says, we need to talk about that room back there that no one has maintenance in a long time. How did that happen? That's not okay. Let's begin. Diagnostic, level 1. She's just going to have
Level
them
1
do
diagnostic.
full top to bottom, ops and engineering, just everything.
Which is going to work out pretty well because that's the most severe anyone has ever heard Hata Ben be towards the crew. It's the disappointed mom voice that immediately causes the lower ranking officers to stiffen up. Ox crew, just aye, Commander. And level 1 diagnostic, which is going to take roughly 5 to 6 hours. They begin.
That's the first one.
That's the first. Oh no. So with that, oh, I'm sorry. The level 1 diagnostic. Yeah. We'll get to that in a second. It's actually the faster one, but yeah. All right. They're going to get to work with that. We're going to go take our quick break. We'll be back in about 10 minutes, y'all. See you in just a bit. Welcome back to everybody to our Space Door episode of Last Excelsior. We're going to jump right back into where we left off. This incredibly insatiably curious, socially inept lieutenant who is absolutely complete. Well, I'm saying socially inept just because they seem to not get along with their equipment. There is obviously some kind of conversation been happening, the two of them. There's a fight happening. It's like
Indicates to me that maybe the tricorder is socially inept, but please continue.
Right. So
Invisible
right
hand
now
of God.
we're gonna continue where we left off, where we have Lieutenant Ivrali floating in space in the EV suit with your tricorder out. Now, it is worth noting too that the tricorder is a powerful sensor device. It's probably about on par with maybe just slightly step down from what Cadence is using on their Peregrine. However, Cadence is privy to the data as you are. It has not had direct contact with the data and doesn't know what to be looking for. So, with that all in mind, I'm going to have you roll a reason science check here. And this is going to be a general scan of the area to see if you can pick up any indication of what's going on. And yeah, go ahead and make that roll for me. Difficulty of this is going to be a little tougher. Difficulty is going to be 3.
Okay, so is that resultant 3 or is that 3 down to 2 with tricorder?
I will always give you the baseline, so it would be a difficulty 2 after the reduction of the, yeah.
Copy that, thank you.
Yeah. Did you get a complication?
No. Does Ivrali roll well when they're trying to intimidate someone? Let's stop talking about that. Let's talk about the 3 successes instead. Thank you.
Okay. 3 successes. All right, you begin to run a tricorder scan.
So I get an momentum.
As you were running the tricorder scan, Ivrali, you see the data coming back in, and it is very empty out here. When you don't have the incredible power of a starship sensor suite powering your scan, it is a surface read at best at the surrounding space. However, you are pretty close to that sensor, that subspace relay station, which is currently still transmitting. So all sorts of subspace channels are being beamed through there. What's more interesting is at this range, you're actually detecting literally being just a couple of dozen meters below the belly of one of the Peregrine fighters that is currently downloading the data from that relay. You're able to piggyback some of the data signal that's being downloaded right onto the Peregrine fighter. So you actually start getting a side-by-side of your sensor scans and some of the data that the subspace relay station is currently uploading to the Peregrine fighters. Good being Federation next to a Federation subspace relay station and having that kind of access. You float comfortably as you stare at your tricorder. The tricorder, by the way, is actually hooked into a safety, sort of like a dock inside your suit. So it's not necessarily something you pull out and flip since you're in 0G and in the vacuum. You're literally looking on your arm right now where the tricorder has this built-in panel. As you're just kind of looking at it.
Tricorder Pip-Boy mode.
Yeah, totally. Same thing.
Perfect. Thank you.
Very Discovery in that regard. So you're just kind of like tapping it in and looking at it as it's reading out the data. Cadence missed this. Cadence isn't a scientist. You don't. They're a jock. They're not going to see this.
Not their fault.
It's not
They're
their thing.
just
They
not good at observing basic phenomena of our universe. Anyway, yes.
The sensor data that comes through, it would have been missed had somebody not had the capacity to know what to look for. You spot a blip in the sensors right around the time that you registered the explosion on board the USS Pride. Zeroing in on that sensory data, you see that the object moving as a shadow on the sensors collided with an asteroid not 4 kilometers from where you were floating right now. Its trajectory is traced by this blip, this dark spot in the sensors, and it just melds with one of the pieces of rock that's just floating here in space. A rather large one at that. It basically looks like somebody just kind of spray painted black all over the side of this rock. It's contrasting perfectly against the mineral output of your sensor scans, and you just kind of angle over. From where you are, that rock is about this big. But the rock is about 0.5 kilometer in width. Diameter, I should say. So you just need to be taken over there. But you can spot, you've basically found where that thing disappeared to. The needle in the haystack.
The ice pick in an iceberg. Lieutenant Debrelli to Commander Cadence. The data's beautiful, and I know right where there's even more of it.
They cut you off immediately and go, where the hell are you?
Under.
A few moments later, you see dropping on the plane a Peregrine fighter about 60 feet away from you, just kind of hover down, and the furrowed brow of Lieutenant Commander Cadence looking out from their flight window at you. And you hear them just go, oh, all right, what'd you find?
That way.
You see maneuvering thrusters fire as the Peregrine just starts to drift a little bit. Could you be a little more
where I was pointing. How do you stop spinning?
How about you feed me whatever data it is you've got instead of just pointing into space?
Because I'm dizzy now.
But they're doing it. You don't know who it is, but somebody on the channel scoffs and laughs a little bit.
They're, despite being dizzy, they're gonna like the opposite, I guess, of you're supposed to keep your eyes on a fixed point on the horizon to avoid motion sickness. But if everything is moving, keep your eyes on a fixed point on science. Actually, that's just more generally good advice. Just keep your eyes on a fixed point on science.
That's true.
It may or may not help motion sickness. I have no idea. But yeah.
Keep your eyes on science, the sequel to May Contain Science.
And it's going to be the Halloween version where Sam dresses up as a beholder.
Dresses
right,
up? Why would I wear the human costume and then the holder over when I could just...
Sam is like, how did they know I was an aberration? What? All right. So, feeding the data over to Cadence. You have the option if you want to switch here because the scene's about to change up. But otherwise, Cadence is going to immediately engage thrusters and start moving at a good clip over towards the asteroid that you've painted.
Perfect. Yes. I will be switching characters at my next scene as I leave my support character behind in space.
Oh, your support character's about to get beamed back onto the Pride. Because right now the ensign has just figured out their mistake and is in panic mode. So,
Aw, poor Raleigh. So yes, when after we check in with the captain and Baya and everything, when we return, I will be like 63% cooler and approximately 87% less science.
okay. So then, Cadence. Engaging thrusters, you begin to push yourself towards this asteroid. It's a smaller asteroid. There's nothing unique about it. It's made up, it seems like it has a scattered nickel core, but it's just basically a big chunk of rock. It's just kind of hurtling in space. However, you can't miss what Avrali, that quirky lieutenant who just sent you that sensor data, they fucking found it. There it is, up ahead. You're detecting what looks like a large black blob on the sensors that seems to have lodged itself into the rock. Navigating your Peregrine fighter closer and closer to it, this thing begins to get larger and larger, and it becomes clear to you that something did impact on the surface because you can see debris of rock that's kind of established a bit of a halo around this chunk of stone that's rotating in space. The light catching the corners of this porous mountainous rock, as it begins to turn, you catch a glint off of the object, which is new information. Sensors and visuals seem to indicate that it was some kind of porous rock mineral. But as you get closer, you're certain that it's actually some kind of metal. In fact, it looks like a large chunk of metal of some kind. It even has a strange coloration to it. It is impacted just on the surface of one of the crevices of this rock, and it's currently just lingering there. And just like it did when you all first warped into the system, it is simply registering on the sensors as not there.
How big is the rock?
The rock itself is roughly 4 kilometers or so in diameter. So it is a mountain, basically, spinning in front
Wait,
of
I thought
you.
it was 4 kilometers. You had told me it was half kilometer in diameter. I had forgotten. There
All
we
right,
go.
yeah. Correction.
Four
So it's about-
away, half it. Okay, it's 4
Yeah.
kilometers.
It's basically a mountain spinning right now, but
Unfortunate.
yeah.
Okay, and where's the thing the sensor dock cares about?
The thing looks like it's on the surface inside of a crevice. It doesn't look like it's lodged. It looks like it collided. It hasn't impacted or buried itself into it. So it looks like it's perhaps slammed into this thing and is now just kind of in the process of hovering around a dust cloud on the surface of it.
Okay.
So it's not like lodged or it's not like somebody threw a dagger at a corkboard. It's just kind of hovering next to it in this thick cloud of rock and debris where it impacted.
Yeah, Cadence to sensor jock. What do you want me to do with this thing? I have eyes on it, but I mean, you're not beaming the whole rock into transpo.
You hear Raleigh go, "Do you see it?"
I think so.
Tractor it back to the ship. Bring it back to the hangar bay.
Yeah, I'll scramble a bird about it. How much of this stuff do you need anyway?
Bring the whole thing. Oh, all of it.
4 kilometers.
No, not the asteroid, just the thing. Whatever it is, the rock thing that we spotted when we jumped into the system.
What happens when it interacts with the tractor beam? Sensor jock?
Oh, I don't know. We have to find out. Activate the tractor beam. And I'll go ahead and keep scans up.
Uh-huh. And we don't know what it does.
Not at all.
Sensor Doc, you ever been exploded?
I've blown things up, mostly by accident, but that's the beginning levels of science, isn't it?
Couldn't say. Personally, I likewise have not been exploded. And you know how you stay that way? One, by flying very well and just generally being, good at the job. But the other, do not tractor beam things you don't know will explode you when you are inside of a small tin can.
There's silence. But how else are we supposed to science it?
Figure that out.
You could beam me back. Maybe beam me onto the surface of the asteroid. Ooh, could you beam me on the surface of the asteroid? The ensign goes, I don't know if
We're
I should.
not beaming them onto the surface of the asteroid.
I have permission from the captain.
Do you?
Captain told me I could go on a field trip, find the device. If you've located it, that means I get to beam on the surface of the asteroid.
So, when I comms the captain, that's what I'm going to hear, yeah?
Sure. Unless he is suffering from a lapse of memory, which is entirely possible because the particles in which we were scanning were actually kind of obscuring a lot of the things on the other side. I don't think there wasn't anything to indicate that it was affecting any kind of neurological effects on anybody that was nearby. But then again, we actually haven't physically interacted with it, but I did spit on it.
I'm so sorry. I think the comms went a little. You what it?
Time's ticking. Time's ticking.
I'm not messing with these sensor jocks. Okay. I'm gonna head back into the bay. I'm gonna relaunch, and I will get you some data.
Meet you in the bay.
You are not coming with.
You get the impression that if Raleigh forgets to turn off their comms because you can hear their heavy breathing as they run towards the turbo lift. And you hear them say, "Excuse me."
Cadence to Santos.
Santos here, what's up?
Remember that lovely sensor scout I was just in?
The sensor
That I
scout?
swapped for this fighter?
Long pause. The one you decided to put on the deck so you could try to shoot a hole through the face of our ship?
Yeah, so now I need the one that can't shoot a hole in the face of the ship anymore.
So what do you want to do?
All right, I'm coming on in. Warm her up.
You just hear her laughing, and then, "Aye, Commander. Right away, Commander."
Wouldn't have to do it if you hadn't taken the guns out of my ship.
Cut to the side of a peregrine fighter drifting into the bay and slowly touching down. As the side panel opens up and you pivot to the left, the seat swirls and spins out. You stand up, walk down the ladder as it goes. You take a couple of steps down onto the deck without even removing your helmet. Not your helmet, but your flight jacket. You just step across the deck right towards the other peregrine fighter that has an open cockpit. Santos just shaking his head. Doesn't say anything, doesn't even look at you, just shaking his head kind of judgy as you walk right past him. There's a noise behind you as you suddenly hear this loud monotone voice say, "Shall I accompany you on this well, Commander?"
Shockingly, for all I know, your abilities may yet come in handy, little peaches. Yeah, you know what? Let's do it.
The probe doesn't acknowledge, it just begins to pivot a little bit, kind of hover. You see it's kind of trying to work out some kind of problem in its head, and then finally lowers down, maneuvers underneath the peregrine, and slides into the docking port underneath the belly. You hear a hissing sound as it pressurizes and situates in.
Garland actually hates me. No, it's fine.
Moments later, there's a peregrine fighter launched from the aft shuttle bay of the USS Pride. You make your way right back over to the station. As you are approaching the rock, you can see that dust cloud and the glinting of metal, and a Starfleet officer in an EV suit on the surface of the rock, standing there, and looks like they're running a scan from maybe about 40 feet away from it. But you can clearly see them in the white suit. Also, the blinking indicator that's activated to your sensors.
Cadence to transporters. What have you done?
This is transporter room 1. I'm sorry. Come again, Commander. I transported Lieutenant
Did
Avrali.
you just put a science officer on a rock?
I was told they had authorization from the captain.
Okay, Cadence to Captain Jaron.
This is Captain Jaron, and oh boy.
I couldn't agree more. Now, I understand taking a bit of leeway. You know what I am. Are you really letting the sensor shocks run wild across space? Because I am looking at one, looking on visuals, an entire science officer on an asteroid, claiming authorization.
Your communication chirps, Captain. This is Lieutenant Avrali to Captain Jaron.
Okay, I'm going to have to hold a meeting with the entire crew on combat etiquette. One moment, Avrali. Okay, Commander Cadence, I'm going to need you to run that by me again, slightly slower and with official terminology so I understand what you're speaking about.
Rerouting sensor data to the Pride. The ability of the Paragriffin I'm currently in is that I can feed my sensor data.
You get a
to the
live feed,
Pride.
basically. Yeah,
Can I get that to go to the captain?
sure. I mean, the captain could literally just activate a wall panel
Yeah.
and have it fed from the bridge right down to that wall panel.
Behold.
Yeah. It appears you see this spectacular dust cloud that is collected around what looks like an enormous chunk of metal. You can see the light capturing it. The metal in size, you're able to get a better sense of exactly how big it is. As sensors were having difficulty really giving you, it kind of gave you that it was about like a dozen or so meters in length, but you get the impression that once again, the sensors are not dependable on the exact makeup and size of this thing, because as you can see from the comparison of the Starfleet officer that is standing next to it, this thing probably looks like it's closer to about 60 to 65 meters in length. And it looks like a large twisted hunk of metal of some kind. And it's standing at about 60 feet away from it is an looks, judging from the badge and the coloration on the EV suit, a science officer for the USS Pride. And there looks like they're running a scan on it.
Now, if all this was authorized, please let me know, because I will immediately start trying to get away with so much more nonsense, Captain.
Please hold, Please hold, Commander, by the prophets. Lieutenant Avrali?
Captain, you'll be happy to know that I've actually located the device that you were looking for, and I managed to pinpoint exactly where it is.
Why are you in space?
Because that's where it is.
Your field trip was to be conducted inside of a shuttlecraft escorted by the birds, not with you out in an EV suit. That's far too dangerous, and with the anomaly that we're incurring at the moment, and the previous conflict that we may or may not have dealt with, we don't know if that space is free of combatants or whatever the hell is happening here. I want you back on the Pride immediately.
There's the start of a protest, and then you hear, "Hi, Captain."
Commander Cadence, what are you doing out there? Well, I see that we have new information from Avrali, very valuable information. What course of action are you taking, and by whose orders?
Sensor Jock wanted data. I wanted to find this object. I got authorization from Commander Ben a little while ago.
And what request did Lieutenant Raleigh? He's like stressing it out a bit. But what request did Lieutenant Raleigh make of you?
I think they pointed, kind of. I couldn't be sure. And said something to the effect of that away. Sorry, Captain, does this mean that I can't get away with the nonsense? I just want clarity.
Commander,
Aye, sir.
this is not the time.
No fun.
I-
I'm using the Sensor Scout to relay data back to the Pride for the edification of our science team. I'm gonna tweak the comms frequencies so it picks up if I'll get their name later.
I'm actually
Unfortunately, the science officer in charge of sensors isn't on the Pride right now, so I guess they're missing the data dump that I'm sending to them with the advanced sensor suite. But that's on them, I guess.
Do I see the information that Raleigh is captured in the object that they are attempting to have brought onto the ship?
Yes.
Okay. In that case,
Raleigh doesn't look like they finished their scan. It looks like they were about maybe 65% of the way through doing a full-on scan of the thing before they shut down their tricorder.
this is Captain Jiren. This is Captain Jiren to Commander Tavine. Oh no! I just saw you walk away. I'm so sorry.
Trying to be mean to Caitlin.
I'm good.
just now.
I just needed to stand up for a second. That's all good.
No, you're
I
good,
can still hear.
This is Captain Jiren to command. Oh my God! To Commander Tavine.
Keeping you on your toes, Captain. This is Lieutenant Commander Tavine.
We have a object that we've located as being involved in the anomaly. I'd like you to take a look at the coordinates of it and see if this is something that you believe that you can have brought on to the Pride.
This may be a better job for engineering and those with transporter or tractor beam experience, but I can maneuver us closer if you'd like.
I want to know if you are able to maneuver it onto the ship.
Aye, Captain. I'll look. I want to see how difficult it would be for us to get close to it.
Spending momentum because it's considered difficult terrain, but you're going to need to link up to your siblings' sensor readouts to actually navigate the asteroid and get to where it is you need to go. And then it's just a momentum spend to do it.
Lieutenant Commander Cadence.
Lieutenant Commander Tavine.
The captain is looking to have the Pride move in closer to the anomalous object. I would appreciate any scans, readings, or mappings of the asteroid field that you and your wing have acquired.
I will pass those along presently. Anything further, Lieutenant Commander Tavine?
That's all. Thank you.
As soon as the connection breaks. Ugh, honestly. Insufferable.
The kind of day you're having right now, Cadence.
Cadence, you're going to get a chirp.
This is Commander Cadence.
Cadence, I'm going to need you to work alongside Commander Tavine to maneuver the Pride and tractor this object in. I know the last time that we attempted it, It was rather slippery, so you two will need to work in tandem. Understood?
Any verification from Lieutenant of Sensor Jock that it's not going to explode on contact with tractor beam?
We'll find out. But until such time, work on this maneuver, and I'll give you the word when it's time to execute.
Hi, sir. Preparing for execution.
As soon as the channel closes, you hear Marceau coming through your comms going, "How you doing over there, Commander?"
Best day ever. I love my job. I love my
Lieutenant
job.
Gond, you hear the Tellarite just say, "I'm going to like this ship. I can tell. This is going to be a good assignment."
I love my job. I love my job.
All right. So tell me what y'all are doing. What's next? What's happening now?
I'm making my way to Avrali.
Avrali you find Avrali on transporter pad 1, removing the thick, heavy boots that they had on when they had put on the EV suit. As soon as you walk in, the ensign stands at attention, and Avrali looks up at you and says, "I almost got the scan completed, but at the 65%, I was able to learn quite a bit."
We're going to have a longer conversation about the spirit of my orders after this operation is done. But until such time, I'm glad that you made it back safely. I need you to finish the scans from the Pride. And
I won't be able to do that unless you bring the Pride in closer. One of the things that I learned is with a size sample of that big, the only information we're going to get back is basically what we learned from scanning the panel. It seems that the nature of the particles themselves, they are kind of really good at dodging information. But the closer you are, the more powerful the sensor scan. Where we couldn't determine anything with the panel, I think we have a large enough sample size with whatever this thing is.
I simply need you to be able to confirm whether or not if we tractor being the item that you located out in space, does it present a threat to the Pride? Once I have that confirmation, I'll have you face to face with it safely.
There was no radiation being emitted from the surface of the device. It seemed to be a solid chunk of metal that had been saturated with these particles that we don't fully understand. And my guess is if it was a danger, it probably would have blown up the Pride by now, considering that it was right next to a plasma conduit junction.
That's all I need to know. Commander Cadence, you have my word to execute.
Copy that, sir.
Of
It's been a
Raleigh.
pleasure working with you.
Jaren out. Of Raleigh,
Sir.
I cannot tell you how much I respect your fascination with science, but you have to put your safety and concern above that passion.
I did.
Cannot.
They nod. It's mathematics, really, Captain. If I had flown out there in a shuttlecraft and that there was a Klingon bird of prey still lingering in the background, I would have been destroyed in the shuttlecraft. However, as a single lone officer standing on the surface of an asteroid who could simply beam straight from transporter room back to the asteroid and back to the transporter room, there was actually less of a risk of being destroyed. Not to mention that the ensign here accidentally beamed me into space when I first got out there, so there was no real opportunity for me to transport onto a shuttle. So I improvised, like any Starfleet officer would, I imagine. And I got the data.
You did get the data, but since we're doing calculations, give me this calculation. The chances of something occurring to you that would end your life or cause you great harm are the chances greater inside the ship, inside a shuttle, or outside in the void of space?
Currently, Captain? There's not enough data to actually answer that question. We were attacked by a ghost bird of prey. And 2 people who did not live on the ship died on the ship, and yet didn't. So I'm not sure the answer to that question. Also, weird black particles near a plasma conduit. And Chief Tech seemed to think that was going to form a black hole. And this is all just in the past 3 hours.
You have a wealth of intellect. I know that there's common sense in there as well. Where was the phantom bird of prey? Was it inside the ship or was it outside of the ship?
Well, data would seem to suggest that it wasn't there at all. They look at you innocently, like they are directly answering your question.
I know that you're smarter than this. I know what you're capable of. I fully believe in you, and right now, you are not meeting my standards.
Their face falls suddenly, like their heart just got broken into thousands of pieces. And they say, okay. Sorry, Captain.
Don't be right. Be safe.
I asked to go on a field trip and to make contact with the device if I could find it. You said I was authorized, so I did.
You were authorized to have an escort.
I had an escort, Captain. You
while
see
being
frustration
in a-
starting to rise.
It's going to take a step back.
Okay.
If you can't see where this impasse is that we're having right now, then we're going to have future problems down the line. Take some time. Think about where there may have been a disconnect, and we will speak after this operation is over. Until such time, you are dismissed.
Hi, Captain. And they quickly move past you without another word and head out of the transport arena.
Well, that's one down. Commander Cadence. After this operation, you are going to need to have a conversation about your wingman and insubordination. After that, he's just going to walk off.
Okay. Getting back to the bridge, as the data is coming through, where are you headed right now, Captain?
Currently to the bridge to watch the operation of moving the Pride closer to this anomaly.
Okay. In which case, that's going to be a helm check here. So you're going to have to spend. It is difficult terrain, so you're going to have to spend at least one momentum to move through the difficult terrain.
So if I have, I guess it doesn't say anything about momentum, but it's when you attempt a contest that is increased in difficulty due to environmental conditions or damage to the engines, I reduce the difficulty by 1.
Okay, that's not going to count because to
Doesn't
even
do anything,
initiate, it's not a roll. To
Yes,
even
I know. Got it.
initiate this, you have to spend momentum.
Cool.
However, you can make a roll, but the roll is difficulty 0. So yeah, there's really nothing much more to this. This would be more like, if you were in combat or something like that. Yeah,
Do we want to generate some momentum? Asking the crew.
you certainly could. Yeah, if you guys, how much momentum do you guys have?
I have it set. I should click what 2.
2 momentum. Okay.
Does that match Sam? What you have?
I lost count after the last track, so I will trust yours.
Okay. Oh, we've entered a new scene. We've done character swaps, so we probably would have to lose one. So I think we probably only have 1.
So you can use a maneuver action, which is just a con plus control task with a difficulty of 0, and that's just to simulate you spending all of your effort navigating the asteroid field.
Okay, cool.
And that will generate the momentum that you have to spend in order to successfully navigate it, basically.
Yes. I would like to use our last momentum to buy a d20 to just juice this so we can bank up. Knock us down to 0. This guy. And then do I get an assist from the Pride for this roll?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you get an assist from Cadence, given that they were so ordered to contribute? Well, no, actually, they weren't ordered. It was a request from the helm between equals. The captain did order to help, though.
I'll let you have a boost from Cadence because Cadence is essentially acting as a buoy marker right now, telling you exactly where the Pride needs to be.
Okay, cool.
And you can look at the trajectory that they took in order to get to the subspace relay station.
So that's a roll from Cadence? like a single die
Yeah.
assist. And then, Captain, do you want to roll the pride assist?
So for the pride, it's going to be it's going to be
Gotcha.
engine. For the pride, it's going to be engines con. And that is literally one of the pride's highest stats.
That's a 4?
Woohoo!
Y'all are going to max out on momentum here.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Oh, speaking of momentum, I messed up earlier, y'all. I used determination
Oh, yeah.
for a trait, and you can't do that. So instead, we rallied and used the momentum instead. So just in case you're following along for the rules, that was a on my on my part.
We're all learning.
Okay, cool.
Okay,
No,
I'm assuming
never.
I
You
can.
can't make me.
Screw you. I'm assuming I can use helm operations for my focus.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, so that means I rolled 4 successes,
Okay, 4 successes.
and then
So
and nothing from Cadence. And then what did you say the pride rolled?
4. So
4.
8 successes total.
8 successes.
Yeah.
All right.
So you're going to max out on
Or
momentum.
no, 6. That'd put us at 6, right?
Oh, it's 6? You rolled 4,
Is-
didn't you?
Rolled the number 4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The number
Does that
4.
is that a crit on our number? Actually, I'm not sure.
For
On the stat?
for con? No,
Engine.
con is 2 on the
2. Okay.
Yeah.
So then
Yeah.
we rolled 5 together. So
Yeah.
that puts us at 5 momentum.
Okay.
I was
So
like, we
spending
got
one of those
April,
immediately, you're down to
April.
4, and then
Down to
you'll
4.
easily maneuver into the asteroid field
we're
using
set up
Cadence
for
as
later.
your kind of point. Again, this place it's chosen by the Federation to test out some of their ships, so that because it's challenging for all scales of ships, starships that they use. The Excelsior is what, especially this particular Excelsior, has some of the most powerful engines for its scaled ship. Easy enough to move through here with maneuvering thrusters. The con is just like you remember her. Moving through the rock field, you start to come upon the subspace relay station just off of port, and a course of like 240. So as it's to your left, you see up ahead the Peregrine fighter that is Cadence, currently at station keeping about 600 kilometers above this mountain that is slowly drifting in space. And you can see it has this cloud of dust that is gathered at the base of one of these crevices that can be easily spotted. Cadence has a spotlight on it right now to kind of literally point at it. That's how they spotted a young lieutenant who was out there scanning. And the Pride moves into station keeping. On the view screen up above, you see this great rock in space. And a quick zoom in, you can see the chunk of metal. And sure enough, it's registering on sensors as just this void of space. Nothing is reading. You can see it visually, though, just like last time.
On screen, Captain.
All right. Well, Raleigh says we need to get in closer. Let's do it. And I can confirm that the tractor beam shouldn't cause any reactions with this item. So let's bring it in.
Okay. The Pride activates her tractor beam. No roll required. It immediately locks on to the device and starts to bring it in. And you see it dislodge and drift out of that dust cloud and slowly drift towards the Pride as the captain just relinquishes command of the ship to Caitlin. But yeah, you see the tractor beam basically, it's almost like passing the hands. So you see the tractor beam lock onto the metal and kind of drift as it begins to channel it back to the next tractor beam until it starts to reach the aft of the ship. Then eventually you notice that the tractor beam has begun to bring it into the aft portion of the hangar bay. And he's back.
I was about to have to be a ghost medium. I think I was the only one
Yeah.
who was noir.
Yeah, I can see Caitlin, but I can see anybody else. Just
So yeah, a few minutes later, and this thing is being these tractor beam on the main hangar bay drifts as it brings this piece of metal in. Santos and the team begin to place this large hover skiff underneath it, so it's laid down very gently on top of it. Scanned, checked for contaminants. It gets the green light, but Santos erects a force field around it for safety and has everyone doing hand scans as this thing is brought on board. He hasn't moved out of the way so Griffin Wing can land safely. After about 15 minutes or so, this thing is on board now.
All right. Well, let's get our science and engineering team down there. Let's have med personnel on standby just in case.
Okay.
And Commander Cadence, once you've landed, meet me in my ready room.
Aye, sir.
All right. When you, by the way, sending the science team, Lieutenant Vrali is going to be first person on scene, since they are the chief of staff for the science staff on board the USS Pride. So they head down to the main hangar bay and begin running tests and scans. If you have a scene you'd like to do now, otherwise they're going to report back with their findings.
All right. Jiren's just gonna look to Commander Tavine. Great flying.
Thank you, Captain.
Con's yours. It's gonna head to the ready room.
Okay.
I'm assuming Commander Ben would be with the engineering
Is
team.
doing the laps.
Yep.
Yeah.
Level 1's coming along nicely. Level 2 soon.
Okay. So,
Trouble.
what would you like to play out first?
Probably talking with Commander Cadence.
Commander
Okay.
Cat. Yeah, no, it checks out. Yeah, all right.
All right.
All right. So it's just gonna kind of be sitting there until the door opens.
Hey, thanks for not exploding the rock with the tractor beam.
It's my pleasure. I'd hate to explode the ship twice in so many days.
Hey, it would have exploded me too, and I had just gotten away from that mine. Just more than we could say for that lieutenant. No, that's rude of me. Remember when she hit a mine, though?
I do remember when she hit a mine.
Yeah, no, you were about to talk about something serious, though, so I'll let you get to that.
Yeah, it's nice to have a little bit of pleasantry before the unpleasantries.
All right, well.
In the middle of an operation where we're attempting to gather information, I give the order to fire upon the ship with shields up. I give that order directly to you, and in the midst of me giving that order, your wingman interrupts on the comms, telling me directly that he has no intentions of obeying my order.
I recall. Way I remember it, he kept to himself pretty much after I told him this wasn't about him. Why?
Because this is gonna require more than being told this isn't about him. The safety, the functionality of this ship completely relies on the whole functioning. If I give the order to fire, that order is to be done.
Sir, I know that. For Star's sake. I told you I needed time with these baby birds. I needed to drill them into shape. We were supposed to be here to do that. And
this has nothing to do with flying. This has everything to do with whether that individual is qualified to have those pips and to wear that badge. And from where I'm sitting, I don't know.
I don't either. That's half the point of those drills. They're going to be qualified pilots. Don't let them hear that, but they're going to fly just fine. That's not what I'm looking for.
Commander,
Yeah?
That is direct insubordination. Direct.
What do you want me to do about it then, sir? This is my first time in. Ugh.
I need you to resolve this to my satisfaction, or I handle it directly.
That's why I'm asking for your satisfaction, sir. What does that look like?
That looks like me being certain that if I give the order, it is going to be obeyed. Until such time, I want them grounded.
All right. It's done.
This isn't something that can happen again. Ever. Ever. It is out of respect for you and your position and our joint mission on this ship that I come to you first.
You want to toss him, he's tossed, sir. I barely know these baby birds. I appreciate the opportunity to get some practice at this leadership thing. But
I know your record. I read your history and I know everything that you did in the Dominion War. I know that you understand the importance of unit cohesion.
That's why I'm not fighting it, sir.
And that's why I'm giving this to you to handle. Takes its pin off. Might I be Ichiro for just a moment?
Ding.
I was raised on stories of the occupation. Things I was told about. The stories I was raised on. The only reason that I am here is because of the ones that came before and their ability to work together. I understand that my methods are unorthodox at times. My worry is that the crew, I'm still learning to understand them, but I need them to know that every order I give, every move that I make is for the safety of this ship and everyone in it. It's not even the hesitation to pull the trigger. In fact, I wish more of us were willing to hesitate before taking that step. It's the implication that I do not care about the ship, that I would give an order that would directly put the Pride in harm's way. That I can't abide. That's what I need you to teach to your crew.
I know.
I know you know. And that's why it's Ichiro that's telling this to you, not your captain.
You're worried about how the crew sees you.
Terrified.
You don't think they trust you yet.
I know they don't. but that doesn't stop me from being the captain. And so somewhere, we have to come to terms. Whether it's thinking the captain's gone mad and ordering a fighter to fire on us when our ships are raised, or the willing misunderstanding of permission granted. I need this crew
To be your crew.
Yes. Because this only works if we do it together.
I had no kind of clue what kind of captain you'd be, either. Not exactly the context.
We don't need to talk about the context. Puts the
Point is, I had nothing before this to give me any kind of preconception about what kind of captain you are. Following you is the kind of captain I see now. You're good at it.
Throughout the Dominion War, I just moved pieces that represented people. I didn't do this. I just need them to know that they're not just pieces. Put the fear of the prophets in that boy.
Bad John. One ass crawling up. Just for my captain. If you don't hear me from the bridge, I've done my job wrong. Don't say anything, I'll channel you.
I can only imagine how well that'll go for you. He just starts rapping. He starts rapping his knuckles as he's talking to me.
Better than it will for him.
I can't wait for the report.
Aye, sir.
Dismissed.
Okay. What scene would you all like to do next? We've got a couple of stacks here of things you would like to accomplish.
Tavine, buy it.
Yeah, did you want to talk to Tavine or
No, just I want to know what love
I mean,
is.
Tavine's at home. Actually, Bio was given a task.
Yeah, you got a research job.
I did get a research job.
Mm-hmm.
She's not a researcher, but she was given a direct order from the captain, so she's going to try very, very hard. So I don't know if you'd like that to be a role, or if that becomes in the form of.
What specifically you're attempting to accomplish?
So the captain had asked Baya if she would pull records on. It was Starfleet encounters with like creating and destroying matter. Was that correct, Noir?
Yep.
Yeah. And in relation to this anomaly, if there was like, that was the order that she was given.
Okay, the computer will tell you to specify, and will say there are over 3 billion instances in which Starfleet has come into contact with an anomaly that created or destroyed matter. And it lists everything from photon torpedo detonations to you name it. Of course, most of them is matter transforming into other types of matter, but yeah. Without the specification, the computer gives you everything Starfleet has recorded since it started its space exploration.
Okay. I know that there is data available from our science scans that are in the ship. She's gonna skim some of the Raleigh and Tex scans of the thing and see if any like keywords or like
I have a
the
feeling.
way
I know. Yeah.
the way that any of them talk about it stands out to her as someone who like doesn't do like science stuff. Like if there's like a specific way they're describing this anomaly that she can add as like a specific.
This is going to be an extended task.
No boy, oh boy.
Because
Vi's getting all the extended tasks.
Because I appreciate everything you're saying here to try to narrow this down, but the enormity of what you've been asked to do.
I know.
You as you're skimming through the computer, you're realizing this is going to be a couple of days, probably, of just digging into everything that's happening here. You're probably gonna have to let your CO now down in engineering. You're gonna need to get your ships covered as you dedicate yourself to a task that the captain has prioritized. And I would say, given the time constraints, let's do that roll next session.
Okay.
As you set to work and just bookmark that.
I do actually though. This is so outside of her scope. Like this is so completely nothing at all that she has. I think she would maybe spend like the time from when she was set upon this task fighting with the computer for a while on like, okay, they use this word. Okay, apparently that word doesn't mean anything specific. That actually gave me more options. Okay, hold on, let me try that. And like just sitting and like trying really hard. And I think after like an hour of doing this, realizing how like big this is going to be, I think there is a chirp at your ready room door, Captain.
He just opens it. You can just his knuckles are absolutely fucked. Hello?
Hi, Captain. She has like 3 pads in her arms, and she was, you gave me a task today that I promise I've been trying very, very hard. But I was wondering if maybe if I could request perhaps a transfer of this assignment or asking for more help on this particular assignment. And she kind of like sets the pads down and says, Captain, I'm not a science officer. I'm not a researcher. Captain.
Come inside, take a seat. Slow it down. All right, so the task given to you, it seems to be one that you could use assistance on.
Assistance or maybe clarification, or maybe I misunderstood specifically what you were looking for in this particular instance. In fact, I'm not a scientist, Captain.
You're right. In the midst of things, I gave you a task that was far too broad in its execution and in its order. I apologize.
I didn't realize at the time that it was so far outside of my scope, but I did try. And she brings up the I think the logs of the things that she's searched, and I think I'm just making the results broader. And so that was kind of my clue that maybe this isn't for me. Which is, she's like, I think you as like the captain and a very social person, obviously the rambling, and I think there's like a little bit of like a tremor in her voice where you could tell that she feels horrible about the prospect of like returning a task to her captain. Like, and I think that and I will stay on it if you really want me to, Captain. But I definitely if this is what you want me on, I need help.
This is Captain Jiren to Raleigh.
Sam, do you want it or do you want me to NPC? It's your call.
This is Raleigh.
I'm going to be sending relevant information in regards to anomalies that Starfleet has encountered before. Some of it may be useful, some of it may not be, but it's always good to have more information.
Yes, sir. What do you need with it?
Cross-reference your findings It, should you need to cross-reference your findings to anomalies that may be similar in Starfleet's histories, we've already pulled that data for you.
Do you mean in terms of spectral signatures, or in violation of the law of the law of conservation of mass?
Yes, we have ample data on previous encounters with this here, and I'm sending it to your pad. Jaren out. Thank you for collecting all of this, and again,
I genuinely, I think I maybe, whoever you passed it along to, I think I maybe made their job harder, actually. So also apologies from my end.
would you like a drink? Anything? Tea, water?
I love a fruit juice.
Okay, I'll look that up.
She's very confused.
Here you go.
Okay.
You mind joining me? I've just got water and I just need a breather.
Oh. Yes. Okay. I usually go in the tanks when I need a breather, but that's different. You've got a different thing going on.
You did the task that I gave you to the best of your ability. There's nothing for you to feel ashamed of. It wasn't the best order. I see that now, and I assure you that I will learn from it.
To be fair to you, sir, there were unknown phenomena existing on the ship, and that's a little bit scattering. It happens.
It's been a tough day, hasn't it?
It's been a weird one. That's for sure. That's and she kind of like realizes who she's talking to again, and kind of like straightens up again. It has been strange. Yes, Captain. Do we have us? I haven't. I mean, I'm ensign, so I don't get all of the. I get orders more trickle down. But do we have thoughts on the weird conduit stuff?
There are theories. Commander Ben has a couple, and Raleigh, despite being slightly distraught, is brilliant. So it's only a matter of time before they figure this out.
Oh yes, I read all of their scans to hopefully narrow down.
I took a look at some of their raw data. It's extraordinary.
Very broad. They get everything. Everything. I wouldn't have even thought.
They don't miss anything.
Mm-mm. Except when the thing just didn't let them get the thing at all. But that didn't seem like it was on there anyways.
Hey, you should let them know that you saw their raw data. I think they'd like that.
I can do that. It was kind of cool. Like I said, I don't really know science stuff, but yeah.
Well,
I do know science stuff. I have some science background, but like it's specifically, I'm an engineer. That's my thing. But I got enough of, and yeah, I can do that.
And so now I don't think that you'd be on the ship if you didn't know some science.
Yes, exactly, sir. Exactly. I know. Yes, correct. And you kind of get like a little bit of like a grin. Like,
Thank you for giving me somebody to bounce off of.
Well,
for a moment.
you did the same for me the other day. We're a team, you know.
I can't tell you how much I needed to hear somebody tell me that today.
I'm sure more of the ship would be willing to say it too. Engineering, we're real buddy. Everybody loves to remind each other how we all have to do stuff together. So if you ever need that reminder again, just hang out with an engineer. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I might do that.
Okay.
Well, I will leave you to it. Or
Thank you for
actually, this is my room. So
yeah, I was gonna say thank you for the. She like drinks the rest of the juice really fast. Thank you, Captain. I appreciate it. It's
Anytime.
I've had a commanding officer earlier, my half post before here, who was harder to talk to. So thank you.
Yeah.
Permission to be dismissed, sir.
Permission granted.
Thank you. And she will scurry away.
Okay. Doors closed as soon as you step out.
I think Jared's just gonna pray.
Okay. You kind of turn towards the emptiness of the room. Take a minute to reflect. Would anybody else like to do anything? Any other scenes?
I don't know a full scene, but Ivrali does get a little like little pop-up notification. That's basically just like gratuitous compliment from Baya about how cool it is, how cool their data was, and that it helped them figure out that they were not suited for their task, and also good luck on the task that they were not suited for. It's just a little text notification that like pings up onto your screen, like maybe 10 minutes after you got your call from the captain.
Okay.
Ivrali is just in one of the labs on the carpet, like lying on their side, scrolling listlessly through their pad a little bit. Like, you know, when you're upset because you've effed up, but you're like trying to still get work done. And it pops up. Thanks, Warp Girl.
There's one last thing, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Jared is ordering this to happen and not doing it himself. But at Virali's quarters, there is a tricorder with a note. These are replaceable. You are not.
Aww. Hear that? You're replaceable. And they'll take the sticker bombing that they had on their tricorder and put it on the new one.
Oh.
Okay.
It's not like full sticker bomb. It's just like they have like a little sticker. We can't quite see what it is, but they'll sticker bomb the tricorder of command.
All right. Anybody else have anything? Any scene that they want to play out or that they wanted to do?
Just Brog drinking sit the hall going, where have I been? No, I'm just kidding. That's it. That's just
He's brooding somewhere.
Yeah, we just have a quick flash of Cadence
Is Cadence,
and Dvar, but
is Cadence talking to Sultani, or is that something that's happening later?
Sultani, not Dvar. Yeah, they are. I don't think we need a full scene of that. I think we know how that's going.
Yeah, I don't know that you do. If you want to bookmark it, we can, or if you want to explore it, we can. It's your call.
Nah.
Okay. Do you want a summary then of how it went? Because it does not. Sultani is not receptive. As Cadence, as you begin to lay out the things that the captain had to say, Sultani replies, "Then you can get another pilot. I'm not opening fire on a Federation starship. Not after what happened to me in the Dominion War. It's never happening. And if the captain orders it, I will tell him no to his face. Just say the word right now and I quit."
You don't get to see the captain. Not like that. Stay grounded.
Grounded? He takes his communicator pin off. I'm never following that order. And he puts it on the table.
All right. Bye.
Yeah. And he steps past Cadence.
Okay, then that does go kind of how I thought. Cool. There we are.
And he's gone.
Okay.
The research is being run on the piece of metal that is down in the hangar bay. You get an indication from the science team that this is probably going to take roughly maybe 6 to 12 hours, anywhere between there, depending on how much resistance this thing puts up. And the information that you get back so far is that the science team is able to, because you were able to remove that trait and because you spent that momentum to kind of figure out what the hell is going on, what the science team reports back to you, Captain, is that this would appear to be a chunk of metal that is some kind of metal plating. It was originally thought to be a porous rock because it looks like it's taken some kind of external damage that has caused that effect. Now, if you want, we can do a quick science roll and I can give you the baseline of what's discovered.
Yeah, we're going to
Okay.
definitely gonna do some science about it.
In which case, Avrali would be the point person on this. So Avrali, and if you want an assist from the Pride, go ahead and make that assist roll. Yeah. So the Pride is going to.
I'll also be assisting.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So let's see. So Avrali is going to, because I'm assisting, be able to reroll a d20 as well.
Thank you. Do I get anything from Baya?
Oh, because I had set up the.
Yeah, because of the
Research?
research setup.
I don't know if it would be helpful.
No, Baya's still working on that.
No, but
Yeah.
yeah, no.
Not at this point. This is a metallurgical analysis of what
this
you guys
is
are
this
seeing.
is the item and not. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Fair enough. Anything from the ship?
I was gonna say, what is
Yep.
Yeah. So the difficulty of this is 4.
Okay,
So
and then Captain rolled for Captain assist.
Cool. So I wrote Pride and Captain,
okay.
and I'm putting in the Discord because that's 2 1s.
Oh, nice. Of all the times to slam down 2 1s like a goddamn mic drop.
Oh my
It's after the
god!
culmination of trying to get this damn thing on board, and after everything y'all have been through today, you managed to just eke. I mean, the science team on board the Pride is just eager as hell to get their hands on this and figure out what the hell it is.
I think the assist to Raleigh is just going to be, you're the best at this, and if anybody's going to figure it out, it's you. And that's the reason, the thought of you putting yourself in danger is one that I can't allow. So prove me right and do what I know you can do.
Maybe I'm the best, maybe not. But I'm the science officer who will get it done.
All right.
All right.
So that's another 2 from Raleigh, by the way.
Okay. How many successes total?
Enough.
Yeah. Okay.
Holy smokes.
Okay. So you beat the difficulty of 4 handedly. The object is obviously not a porous rock. It is a mangled metal plating. The metal is heavily saturated with the same gaps in the sensors. And I mean heavily. On an external scan, it looks like there is so much of it saturated into the molecular structure of the ship, of the chunk that is laying on the deck of the ship, that it's still, even at close range, it's still coming up as just this black hole that's in the center of the deck. Just like the paneling on the Pride. The only difference is it's substantially more. And it actually may be enough to collect a significant sample size here on the ship to get a scan of better of what's the engineers, you guys might be able to do even more with this. But the initial scan indicates that it's some kind of composite metal of duranium and titanium. And it's extremely dense. And that's your baseline information.
Where are we holding on momentum now, friends?
We changed scenes so 5 with that extra boost.
Thank you, 5.
So go nuts.
All right. First, the composition of the alloy.
Mhm.
Is it consistent with that used on Federation starships, or does it have other origin?
That is the metallurgical analysis of this metal, though it is difficult, reveals a high probability that it is the hull plating that belonged to a Klingon vessel.
Yep.
The coloration of like the dark greens would even further that possibility, but it seems likely.
All right, so that was the first one. That was my tricorder. We now have 5 momentum remaining because that one, if I use a tricorder or use the ship's systems, I get 1 obtain information for free. From here, is it consistent with modern or older birds of prey? Using the combination of the metallurgic composition as well as isotope decay.
You're not able to determine what kind of ship it belonged to, just that it was Klingon in origin, but it does not look like it is old, no.
Oh.
Sensor scans are coming back. This is not an old piece of metal. Not particularly, no. Considerably, in comparison, it would be considerably younger than the USS Pride.
Well, yes, but that's because she's our grandpa, and
I would
she's
say
been so tonnage.
it is very likely that this alloy was probably whatever this was probably constructed or built and used for maybe just a little shy of 20 years, maybe less. Actually, yeah, it would be less. It'd be something closer to 12 years. A little more recent. For Trekkie heads out there, roughly the TNG era.
Note taker friend, do you have the timeline of the OG encounter?
The OG encounter, I can tell you. Yeah, you've got it.
2314.
There we are. Perfect.
Yep.
All right. So then that is modern in origin. The edges of it, or rather throughout, any sign of photon bank.
It's showing signs of extreme deformation and scoring from what would appear to be plasma, giving it the porous surface that you see. Like it looks like it was sheared straight off of whatever it was. And judging from its state, it would appear to have been torn free by some kind of massive plasma explosion.
Plasma explosion.
Want to create a trait about it?
We do have 3 left.
What are you thinking?
I'm thinking like words that go along with Sherlock, like Eureka, like Eureka.
We have Revelation activate if we want.
Oh, we do.
Mm-hmm.
You wanna stack on Revelation? Do Revelation 2 or something?
I'm into it. It will leave us with 1 more momentum for the obtain.
Okay, Revelation 2 then. You are certain using the deductive reasoning at in that capable mind of yours of Raleigh, you with the very capable engineering team, you are almost certain that this was likely caused by some kind of extraordinarily powerful Romulan plasma torpedo, a detonated device, and this was likely the part of the outer hull of a ship. You continue scanning further to try to find signs of how this was interconnected with these strange molecules. And the wonderful thing about the spectrometric, the equipment that you have with this size of sample, you're not running into the same walls with the mass spectrometer that you did with that microscopic size. Now you're actually getting some readings, and the computer is starting to make leaps of logic here to connect the dots based off of data that you've been able to accumulate. And Raleigh, as it starts to accumulate the data and you see some of it fall in front of you, you begin to realize that the reason why the computer's had so much difficulty with this is it's a variation never before recorded in the Federation database. But what would it appear to be is that this entire chunk of metal seems to be saturated at the molecular level with some kind of never before seen variant of anti-chronoton particles. Literally a type of particle that is used to reverse, stop, close, otherwise jam all kinds of temporal anomalies. Literally the opposite of what you would find if there was some kind of time warping or distortions taking place. Somehow, this metal here, the hull of this ship, has been saturated in it. How it got into the Pride, you're not sure, but it immediately ignites your imagination when you start realizing that you guys kind of witnessed a replay of events that the Pride experienced during her first tour of duty. There is some kind of temporal thread at play here, but it's not manifesting or even presenting in any way ever recorded before. It's not even accurate, perhaps, to even say that there is some kind of temporal shenanigans going on. If there was evidence of actual time being manipulated or warped or any, there would be chronoton particles, not anti-chronoton particles. Bigger question erupts here. But what's for certain is this is a single piece of what is clearly a large Klingon vessel. Because you've got the revelation trait going. You were there when the captain was warned that there is slowly brewing during this whole process Klingons trying to take advantage of whatever is happening in Romulan space right now. You're wondering if it's all somehow connected. You've answered these questions that have just led to bigger questions. As you glance up from your tricorder, you see in front of you a strange hovering device, a probe, that is just like hovering around the Peregrine fighters. And along with a few of the flight hands staring at this chunk of metal, a few of the Peregrine fighters themselves from Griffin Squadron, everyone's just kind of staring at this thing. Almost like they're answering to the same curiosity that you have as, where did this come from and what the hell happened here? That's going to be where we stop tonight.
Heck yeah!
My goodness.
Trek, how dare you? Anti-wibbly, anti-wobbly, anti-timey, anti-wimey.
Yep.
Correct. Wrong franchise, but correct.
Okay.
Oh.
So this is a longer episode. We might get a 4-parter out of this one, depending on what you guys do the next session.
Mm-hmm.
But we are going to have an ending button as the data is flowing into, as the day is drawing to a close. And the information is being processed, and a staff meeting has undoubtedly been called to review the information that's just been uncovered. Captain, you receive on your data pad as you were getting ready to go to sleep that night, knowing that you've got an early morning meeting to talk about what it is you've discovered. A chirp comes in on your data pad, and this is about 4 hours after the discoveries were made and the data is being compiled. You're ending your shift that night, still in station keeping here at the edge of the near the asteroid where this thing was discovered. There is a message coming in from Rear Admiral Rollin to you. And the message simply says, "We should talk the moment you have a moment to talk." And attached to it is a news article by Brog Bav Pend. That is detailing the events of the past few days here on the USS Pride, including apparently an officer resigning in protest for not trying to destroy the USS Pride.
I see Jared's not getting any sleep tonight. He's in the holodeck, and he's looking at the pad while he's in the corner of a boxing ring. And he just looks at it. His eyes roll. He throws it down, gets up to go to the middle of the ring, and goes, "Turn the safety off."
Authorization code. You give out the authorization code. The holodeck deactivates safety protocols, and that is where we leave the USS Pride for the evening.
Oh God.
You created a hell of a support character that you haven't touched. And in the background, I've been doing a lot with that character.
Oh, I know. You gotta give your GM a gun.
You set the tone for that character so well in that first episode. You created such a brilliant character with that support character. And I was like, no way. Am I letting that guy? There's no reality in which that Tellarite sits quietly on board the ship with all the stuff that's happening right now.
Chekhov's face.
Yeah.
We'll see. Let's see. I mean, we also Bragpav Ben might actually learn that this is not the captain to fuck with. So we'll see what happens.
If Q can learn,
let's ask Bragg to come have a nice little sparring match with the captain, just to get to know one another. That's going to wrap us out here tonight, everybody. Thank you so much for joining for this next episode of The Last Excelsior. As a quick reminder, next Monday night, we are going back to Noirville. So join us for some Marvel Good action then. And then we'll be returning in the month of October for some more Last Excelsior. And we'll actually have an update for you too. We plan on in the month of October doing a spoopy game. So we'll keep you posted about what's coming up with that. Until then, though, friends, thank you as always for joining us and nerding out over Star Trek. We will see you next time. Until then, hailing frequencies are closed.